All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome into ESPN Louisville Plus. I'm Justin Soforo. Joining me today, three guys. You've seen two of them already here on the platform, and Nikki V, who kind of always pushed for this platform but hasn't been on it yet until today. So, I guess you did a video before. Anyway, what's up, guys? How y'all doing? We're doing a college basketball sidecast for college basketball games and fun college basketball teams.
Is this us just stealing everything from Jack Grossman and basically doing a college basketball tonight type of thing that we're I guess kind of mimicking? Is that what we're doing?
Is that what he does? I apologize. I haven't been able to see it.
No, that's what he used to do for us, and it's just kind of like we're just following. Yeah, we're just following in the footsteps of that.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Anything Jack Grossman wants to send to us. Yeah, right now, obviously, there's a team in red, or a team in black, and a team in white. They like the color orange, too. They're playing right now. We'll see how this game goes. It's a close game right now, close-knit game. We'll see how long, but we can't do play-by-play about that. We can just react to it. Nick, how you feeling? Andrew? Phil? How we doing tonight?
I'm here.
I'm good. Yeah, we're good. We're good. It's we're as we navigate these waters and watch college basketball across the not Commonwealth, the country, I should say. No, it's fun. We're here. We're making it work. These 9 o'clock games. I don't know if you all looked at the end of the schedule for the remainder of the season. Mother of God, there's some late games that are coming up. I'm not built for that. Give me this 12 o'clock CW games all the time.
Yeah, I got to wake up at 6 a.m. every day, so this isn't going to be fun at all. I think obviously we know the games we really want to talk about today, given, if you've seen the thumbnail, our guy, Jerome Tang, how are we feeling about him today? Doesn't he have like a $28 million buyout? Is that not still existent? Because like people have been talking about him a lot.
Well, I know we talked about the Trilly Donovan tweet that went out, the cryptic tweet that went out for that. And it's funny to me because... What'd you say?
Mick Cronin's gone.
Oh, Mick Cronin is gone. Yes. It's interesting because it's like you just hate going, especially like in the top college basketball market, just going zero to coaching search. And honestly, it's like you almost try to challenge yourself. Though, like, and guys, I mean, Nick's on 5 days a week on 5 hours of show, so I know I'm preaching the choir. We do occasional hits with Strebel and help out Innocent Cape only, and then with us on SMH. It's like you don't want to go zero to just like, hey, let's talk coaching search. And it's just, I mean, just people go to that every time. Like, it's just, I mean, that's just where we are, I guess. And there was some good dialogue with Innocent Louis earlier today, Dennis, talking about just, what Josh Hurd's planning to do. We'll get to that, I'm sure, over the course of the next couple hours and whatnot. But just some... Hopefully you can react to some of the games that are out there as well, and some of the other happenings in college basketball. I really want to see if we can see Double D and Ken and see how good their seats are, too. So I'm on the app trying to find that right now.
So I apologize. I'm hearing people are saying that there's still an echo going on, and I'm trying to figure out. I don't know why it should have been resolved. So I apologize. I might have to switch to just not using the XLR and go ahead and get out in front of it. So give me just a second. Let me just try to fix that real quick. Are you all hearing this reverb really bad? Like, are you all hearing?
I
Phil.
I catch a little bit of the reverb for both Nick and Phil.
I'm not wearing
sounds pretty terrible too.
Would that help as we troubleshoot on the air?
No, I think I know what it is. I don't know why the thing that's supposed to resolve it isn't doing it. So I'm just gonna have to switch off my XLR thing and try to mess with that later. So we're just gonna switch it over to USB. So y'all keep talking. I'll rejoin in like 2 seconds. I'll be here, but. Yeah.
It's ESPN Louisville Plus. It's filling space. We don't have Nick Kern here, but nonetheless, we fill space. It's what we do. I was bouncing around the country. By the way, I mean, the Big 12, for just as a great of conference as they have, it always, I mean, like you got Oklahoma and K-State on ESPN Plus. Again, as we try to build up our ESPN Louisville Plus, not throwing any shade at that, but I'm just kind of like, man, like you have to pay for that. Oklahoma up 43-29, by the way. and that is on Big 12 plus ESPN plus. But yeah, South Carolina making some headway. Maybe he needs to enter the Trilly Donovan, Lamont Ferris, huh? I'm going to make a little as we do this little coaching tree situation. TCU, Texas Tech, Jamie Dixon, he's top 25. I'm just going through there. Pretty good.
Let's see here.
All right. I feel like I hear you all so much better already. I don't know what Justin did. Sound crisp and clean. How do I sound?
Yeah, you sound less echoey.
Good.
I have
Step in
no
the right
idea.
direction.
Phil sounds less echoey.
I don't know. It's crazy because it's just still playing through my computer and not my headphones. In the past, that hasn't done that. So maybe I just need to do this and fix that. In the past, that had been.
Yeah, damn it! It's caused by the mixer. It's the way that it processes it in and out. It's supposed to mix minus, so that way when it goes back out, like I can hear, and then it's supposed to put it back out to you all. Anyway, it's just behind the scenes crap. It's a pain in the ass. Don't know why it can't work.
Love it.
$800 and this is what I get.
Is that the tailgate board one that had a beer spilled on it by Justin Jeffries?
Yeah, it's the one that the UK terrorist Justin Jeffries spilled all over my beer. He laughed while he did it. He looked at me and said, "Bleep your stuff, go Cats," and he poured it right on there.
Well, the odd part was the eye contact and the wink afterwards. That was weird. But
he smacked my ass. It was a little weird, a little uncomfortable. Sorry. So I had to pull out a little bit there for a sec. So I didn't get to hear everything you said. I heard you started to kind of lean into the coaching search conversation, and I know you don't want to do this. I know you don't want to do it, Phil. I know. But today was a war. Today was a war for the
I was
fan
texting.
base.
I was texting Strebel and James Black during some of the back and forth banter because I have strong opinions about, regardless of it. So I don't lead me one way or another. You continue the discussion. It's not that I necessarily don't want to talk about it. It's just there's 2 months left in the season, and it breaks my heart that that's where we are.
It's because it's going to be a conversation. We want to save that time for when it comes. But
by the way, ZP's in for you, allegedly.
Son of a bitch. Yep, I see him. Thick thighs McGee over there. Anyway, looks like me running up and down the court. Anyway, I it's such a difficult conversation because I don't want to be callous when I say, the Blankenbaker is all on the Chris Beard train. And I tend to lean with Blankenbaker on understanding, like, I just want to win. He's a proven winner. He succeeds everywhere he goes. There's baggage. There's potential baggage. And I don't want to say this and I don't want to undercut it. And I don't know what Nick's opinion is, so I'd like to hear what he says too. Because I want to see how Johnny Two Sides does this. But for the most part, when we talk about Chris Beard, you're obviously going to have to talk about the stuff going on in the background. And people love to bring up, well, Louisville's had so much going on, you can't have anybody who has any kind of sort of issues at all. I guess I was confused on how the legal system works. I guess, like, I didn't realize that he was proven guilty. I didn't realize that he was, in prison right now. I don't know. That's where I have a little bit of difficulty of, like, okay, for reference, and I know I'm digging myself a hole early already, but here's just for reference. As an investigator, I've worked cases for things like these. The real ones, I'm not saying it's whether it's real or not. I know, I don't know. But I've seen circumstances where people have their lives ruined. Chris Jones had his Louisville career ruined, and then it came out afterwards that he didn't do anything. Do you remember that a few years ago? And it barely got any coverage, but everybody just kept acting like he was this terrible person. So that's why I just kind of have a difficult time just like going with, well, somebody claimed something against him, so we have to condemn him for the rest of his career and his life. Just because of that. You know what? That was
me shaking my head at like your take. I was just an alleged three-pointer that may have just fallen in Little John Arena. But no, Nick, I know that was kind of teed up for Nick, so I'll let Nick go, and then I'll chime in as well.
All right. Well, first off, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Loud and clear, man. You sound great.
All right, excellent. So, we kind of we talked about this a little bit on the Gas Bags podcast, which check it out, ESPNLouisville.com. The latest episode's up there. We used Emily Radikowski as some clickbait as the title. But we also talked about it. Like it comes up organically. That said, I am Nikki the Lib, so what I'm gonna say is probably going to make Justin happy because I'm on the beard train too, 100%. I do think that, and we talked about this, I want to be sensitive to anybody that I don't think like to just bring up that his checkered history is something that can just be easily like pushed away. I didn't realize this. I told this story on the air. And it's going to sound like humble bragging, and it's not meant to be because that was someplace I was not supposed to be at all. But when we went to the National Sports Media or whatever, when Dad won that award for like Broadcaster of the Year, I got to tag along like I always do and hang out with people that are way more successful at this job than me. And we're down there, and this was like post Katina Powell, pre Tugs Bowen. Okay. And I had no idea the public or the national perception of Louisville until I started talking to these people. I'm not doing the tinfoil hat shit that it's Louisville against the world. It's not. It's not that at all. But Louisville had painted itself as like, using the word from the NCAA, a repugnant university.
Yeah.
And although some time has like passed since then, I mean, anytime they've been trending nationally, unfortunately, at least in terms of basketball, it's been due to a negative story. Now, I do think innocent until proven guilty. I do think even if guilty, people deserve second chances. We don't know everything that happened with that situation. I like Chris Beard because of what Justin said. Proven winner, and I still feel like I'm kind of going against V-show protocol because Louisville still has a coach right now and everything like that, and he's coaching a game right now, and allegedly they're tied, on the road at Little John. But if it's trending, and we're gonna have that conversation, if you are like, if you're gonna ask me who I would want as the next guy of the candidates, I like Chris Beard because I think yes, he's a proven winner. I do think whoever they get might have to try to get at some form of a discount, and unfortunately, just because of his past, you might think you can save a couple dollars on it. I don't know. I think Ole Miss is going to give him a bag, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I think what separates him from some of the other candidates is whoever they get next in this job has to be somebody that can handle, first and foremost, the limelight and the microscope that is being the coach of U of L basketball. And I don't think a guy like Eric Musselman is wired that way. Not saying he's a bad coach by any stretch. I think he's a terrific recruiter. I think he definitely brings some positives. But we saw this. I said this when the last major coaching search stuff was going on. I really liked Chris Mack, but he was my second choice because I said this. I said that I thought that maybe he wasn't wired to have the U of L pressure. He was a guy that was known to be kind of a little bit tightly wound, and he was coming from Cincinnati, where at worst, they were what, the fifth story, or at best, I mean, they were what, the fifth story on the sports page.
Yeah.
And that's not taking anything away from them. I mean, he did a terrific job there, and I liked Chris Mack a lot. I didn't like the Dino situation, obviously, but I liked him. I liked him a lot as a coach.
Do you
But
think it's politics?
I remember us doing those producer shows, and I said that I thought I was Team Shaka because I thought Chris Mack, from what I had heard, might be wound a little too tight to have to deal with the pressure that was the U of L coaching job. That's why I don't know. We talked about this on the Gas Bags podcast. I don't know if maybe, again, all of this is speculation. Maybe there was he couldn't handle the limelight of Texas, and maybe like the pressure was coming back into his household. I don't know, but it seemed like with press conferences, with handling the media, with winning, it seemed like he was able to handle one of the most high profile like jobs in one of the most powerful athletic programs in the country. So I feel like I got confidence in Chris Beard to come in here and right the ship. But that's just my 2 cents. As I'm talking, more and more people are disconnecting. So I'm going to throw it back to you.
No, I didn't mean about that. No, I just
I was about to say, I was like,
we went on a journey there. I like that. I didn't expect the Shaka Smart already, but I see you tied it up at the end there. We got it. I'll let Phil or Bosch respond first. Sorry, I just want to because I'll talk a lot too.
Bosch, you can go ahead if you want, and then I got some thoughts.
I don't have a whole lot to say on it, but my two right now would probably be Tang or
I think the university
Chris
got
Beard for sure.
You don't think we had enough Tang in 2013?
I mean, the only thing I'm seeing in the future is potential wins. I mean, I understand. Well, I missed it. What'd you say?
Never mind.
It was a Rodney and Too Tall joke. I got it.
Thank you.
Bosch is
a little high today. Again, I heard you on the trivia this morning
too.
too.
Inebriated. That's all.
There you go.
James brought that line. Say? James told me you said that line earlier, and I was laughing my ass off.
Thank you. Good. I thought it was a good joke, but no, nobody else. Yeah, it's fine.
Winging.
So,
but no, I just see wins in the future. That's what I'm going for. I'm going to grab some wins and somebody that can handle the pressure at the university. That's basically all I'm seeing right now. But honestly, I think I'm looking more towards the tournament and judging coaches based on what they're able to do once the conference tournaments come around and the NCAA, tournament. I'm going to judge them on how they handle that because there's a lot of coaches that have great seasons and then do absolutely nothing when it comes to the tournament. So I don't know. I think we're all going to be watching very intently for the next several weeks and months to kind of put our picks in. But yeah.
Sorry, I'm frantically in a basketball debate with humble brag, my buddy Kyle Mann in the Ringer. So there's a name drop right there. All right, so a couple things that I was pulling my hair out during the Anna Strebel James Black discussion on the take earlier today for a couple reasons. And look, Rummage came out and we were talking in the bullpen about some stuff, and obviously he's team Beard on a couple of things, but he's tried to stay away from navigating that with the coaching talk, kind of like what Nick said. But if we're here as a game allegedly maybe going on where it may be tied with some ACC foes, there's some things there that then some great looking uniforms and terrible play all around, but that's a discussion for another day. My thing is this, in the discussion that was had there, and Anna's my girl, I love her dearly, and I know Nick does too. Whole thing with it. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, as well, whatever I'm about to say, we all love Anna. Go ahead.
Well, my thing is like when they were talking about the perception of Louisville, what Nick just said. What you could get, golly, obviously you got the nicest guy ever. He's smiling after losses, and you're still a laughingstock.
Mm-hmm.
You had Scott Satterfield living in infamy of doing the L's down. You're still the laughingstock. Like my whole thing is just like, you really think if you get the guy that, and maybe he's out there with that, but I'm just saying, regardless, take Beard out of it, take, Will Wade out of it, take whoever out of it. You really think you're going to change the perception through the masses of the flyover, media, as I like to call it, who aren't in the fishbowl here, if you get, the choir boy. And I'm not saying this about, it's about anybody with baggage. And obviously I've heard Innocent and Biscuit have a really good discussion. I'm saying not all baggage is the same. I get that. I'm very, sympathetic to that, empathetic to that. And I get that. What happened with the Beard stuff is obviously terrible allegations. But I know, as you said, and I haven't read up much on them because in my opinion, I think it's not as realistic as some have said out there, but there's some much more closer to the story than I with that. But my whole thing going back to, if that is a consideration, you're not going to change the perception. And I understand that there's folks out there that worked a lot of hard. They worked extremely hard to get away from some of these said things of the perception that's out there. But my whole thing is that, are you, I mean, regardless of who you get, and it's like what Nick said with like Musselman, he's kind of prickly with that. That could rub some people the wrong way. But we've tried the nice guy route. And this isn't, I don't want to just say this is not about just Beard or Wade or with the stuff that have tentacles. Hell, my dream candidate will be Kelvin Sampson.
Yep.
I mean, if we're tossing out names right there, and the stuff that he did at Indiana is, all legal. I think, not to be an ageist, sorry, Bob, I know sometimes he takes, he does not like this, but, not to say that he can't coach, but he's got a good situation. How many does he want to move, back to this part of the country when he's got a great thing going?
And he's 70 years old, or he's up there.
Yeah, give or take.
The age doesn't matter, really.
Right.
If you can coach, you can coach.
Right. That would be my dream candidate. I don't think it's likely, similar to the Beard thing, maybe more obtainable. But I don't see it happening just with the administration. That's just my own personal opinion. I don't have any insight with that. But, I think also a great point Mark Ennis made. Mm-hmm. It was talking about, if you did want to, let's say it was an off-the-rail candidate that did not excite anyone. All I ask, and I said this last time we were on, I don't care if it's somebody, if it's a Ted Lasso situation where it's some guy that's never been, as long as Josh Hurd stands by it and doesn't listen to fans or former basketball players, and he just does his own thing, and it's his hire, and you live with the results.
That's what I
know
want.
that, and just not be guided one way or another. And I know somebody was bringing up, it was funny, it's like the Josh Hurd and Josh Shurd guy from Indiana State, as maybe a double nickel, just got a dunk possibly, and still down one. But can
I just say real quick? Sorry,
yeah.
No,
you're good. I'm rambling.
I did want to say thank you for saying that. That was my main point. I hate that everybody. I feel like a lot of people felt like I was just battling. Like, no, I want Beard. I don't. It doesn't have to be Beard.
Yes,
What I want is a fair shot, and I want Josh to be able to do his job without a mass group of the fan base, trying to either push something or shut something down.
Well, not even that. Like, I mean, it's a dose of reality. And look, they built this program. I do not want my words to be minced at all. The former players built the program. Mm-hmm. Okay, they should be making decisions.
Yep.
Like, and I mean that. Look, I'm not saying we should. I'm not saying media members should, but like, Butch Beard, and look, I've had some pleasant conversations with him with some of the NBA to Lou events, and he's by all accounts a nice man, but like, threaten to take your name off of everything if you don't do like X, Y, or Z, like, how is that healthy at all? And don't say, oh, you can't say that. Luke Hancock said that, like, on the airwaves. So don't, if you want to take me to task, fine, take Luke to task too. But it's just fascinating to me because I could care less who is on there. They're probably going to hire a search firm, and I know it's scoffed at, and I bring this up all the time, and I'll probably bring it up tomorrow if Nick and I are playing radio from 12 to 3 on the V Show.
Hey, can you play radio with me 12 to 3 on the V Show tomorrow?
You already asked me, so yes, that's the game plan. But what Jeff Greer was doing playing on the radio, he made it all the time. It was a mid-major coach, Kenny Payne, and or Greg Garr, and people lost their damn mind. And I've said this 100 times in the last 6 months. People lost their mind over Greg Garr. Mm. Look at where Greg Garr is doing right now, and he has a showdown against Purdue on Sunday, in which they're a top 12, 13 in the country. I'll just leave it at that. I've been rambling, but just if it's a non-sexy name, shut up. You can voice your opinion about it, but live with the results of what Josh Hurd, because this is ultimately, it's a career hire for him too, as Double D said. So I'm rambling, but who knew that we'd be doing that? Then maybe some ACC play. I'm going to turn it to the Kansas game.
I had a feel there was a reason I had like kind of an itch to actually go do this tonight. Like, just like with everything going on, at first I was like, you know what, I want to take the night off. But then we had a game, and I was like, no, let's do this. Let's have a little bit of this conversation because everybody else is doing it. Why can't we? JB brings up, and I understand this, and you can't be more sensitive with it, and I get it. But he says, personally, I don't want anything to do with them. Domestic violence victims drop charges all the time due to fear or embarrassment. I don't know what happened, but he's not so good. It's worth the risk. I just don't think that's fair to him or to anybody who's been. Let me just say this right now. I had friends. I was in middle school. I hold this to this day. I was accused of sexual harassment with a couple of friends of mine. I never did anything. What happened is one of my friends broke up with a girl. So she said the three of us, including my twin brother, had done something like this. I didn't even know this girl. And like, that's something that like rocks me to my core, that like somebody could just blatantly
it's also not the downplay, like the seriousness of the allegations for those that do happen. And I'm not saying that was there, but yes, it's dialogue that needs to be had for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just, I understand your point. I just think it's not, I just feel like it's not fair to do that for people. Like, there's a reason you have a court of law. Like, I understand people get, they get scared into not continuing to pursue it, but like, I don't know what else I can do if you're not willing to pursue it. You know what you know what I mean at that point? So it's difficult. Like, if there's nothing that I can say that makes me not sound like I don't care, but I do, if that makes sense. That's
you just went on an impassioned, breakdown of the judicial system, and I'm I play an I Spy to try to find Ken and Double D at Lawrence and Allen Fieldhouse right now. So that's where they're. Kansas is up 38-23 over that. So hopefully no one from Kansas, the Jayhawks radio network, is listening to that on there. It is ESPN Louisville Plus. He's Justin Soforo, Nick Valvano on the top screen, looking great. Andrew Bosch glistening in his AirPods. Are those the pros, or are those just normal? Are those just the normal ones? I think those are the first gen.
Man, these are generic Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. I couldn't even tell you.
That's that AliExpress right there, baby. DHgate.
Yeah.
That's how you got to operate right there. Get those freebies off there, and I've tried to. I've had to. I've been an Apple snob throughout recently. What'd you say, Nick?
What'd you say from the void?
Taking us to the bathroom?
I'm putting my AirPods in. All the cool kids are wearing them.
Oh, no, I'm wearing the wired ones, and that's how it's in. I'm actually watching now Oklahoma and K-State. Jerome Tang's a name to watch. I think Porter Moser, too, is a name that kind of flies under the radar, too, that I think could possibly be in the mix for that. And, it's funny. Our buddy Ty Spalding brought this up. I think he shared a screen recording with LSL a couple, like at the start of the year, about some names that are going to be circulating out there, especially with Trilly Donovan putting out his cryptic tweets and whatnot, and Mick Cronin is off the board according to him. But it's been interesting to just kind of see kind of all that navigation of just seeing who Trilly Donovan's hearing as a kind of an insider. And I mean, it needs to be said, like, I love the guy as a follow, but he's been kind of off too on some things with Louisville basketball being related.
So let me go ahead and give him an introduction. Our guy Jeff Lightsey decided to tune in today and join us for the sidecast for alleged games that may be on.
What's going on, guys?
What's doing all right? How you doing, man?
Hey, I can't complain, man. I can't complain. Was watching the game, saw the conversation, and just wanted to chime in, hop in.
Yes, please. No, I was honestly thinking about texting you with James Black earlier. I was going to say, yeah, we needed to get you on here, man. What's up with you, buddy?
Everything's good, man. It's funny, the whole Chris Beard thing, because I guess that's the thing that's like the thing right now. I actually did like a 12-minute video, just kind of giving the pros and cons of Chris Beard, right? Because I'm someone of the belief of, innocent until proven guilty. When you've been, whether acquitted or whatever, like whatever the correct legal term is that he was, like, I don't think that should hang over your head for the rest of your life. But at the same time, if you look at the allegations, some pretty harsh allegations that was levied against him. So I also don't blame anyone who feels a certain way about him. So that's kind of like how I weighed in on it. And I'm not the biggest fan of talking about coaches as we have a active current head coach, right? But like, since it was such a thing, especially when Trilly X'd out Mick Cronin and you got the Bring Bromholm guy, Mick is the pick on everybody's tweets. So it was just kind of like,
got an interview, by the way. I don't know if you saw that. Somebody did an interview with
I did. I read it and it was actually pretty funny. It was a good read.
I think everyone in this chat would probably know them, is what I took away from that.
Oh yeah, it's almost what it sounds like. Like, that's definitely like the vibes that I'm getting, that I always kind of felt that way for, the way that he would word tweets and put certain things out and say he's in certain booster clubs or whatever. And I'm like, man, this guy, and then like he donates a lot of money to like charities, right? Like he did the Wave 3 Angel Tree and gave him like $500. And I'm like, yo, okay, so this guy's got some money. He's probably known, he's got some flexibility, free time, has to have a ton of free time to be able to do all these mixes to pick, and everything.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see if he's ever revealed. And if he is, who it actually is. That'll be pretty fun.
It needs to be your side hustle, Justin. Figure that out who that is. But no, Jeff,
I'm trying to find a way to put my PI days behind me. I'm trying not to get shot on a regular basis. Trying not to, get into physical altercations with people. Unless we're talking about Chris Beard, damn it. Anyway.
Jeff, I interrupted you with the Bring Brob Home guy, that of the pick is the pick. But yes, you were also saying, kind of regurgitate what you did with your 12-minute video, as well as plug where they can find that.
Yeah, man, you can find it on right here on X or the X or Twitter, whatever you call it. But essentially in the video, I just like went over what happened with Chris Beard, or what got him fired, because it's like, that's the thing. Like we can't deny what he does as a basketball coach. Like that's undeniable. I mean, he had Texas Tech in the national championship game. Like for a long time, people didn't even know Texas Tech had a basketball team, let alone in the national championship game. Then at Texas, he's 7-1 at the time all this went down, and was number 2 in the nation, top 5 recruiting class, on the court excellence, recruiting excellence. And then he goes to Ole Miss, and they're 18-3 right now, top 25 team in the country. So like the dude has proven at multiple Power 5 teams across multiple conferences. Like he's the real deal when it comes to coaching. It's just, are you willing to take whatever comes with it? Right? Whether that's a protest, whether that's animosity towards your program, whether it's the bad PR, whatever that is. And if you're okay with whatever comes with that, then make it happen. Because the thing is, what you have to weigh is it worth the winning? Because one thing you're going to know for sure is that the man's going to win. Like he's going to win, because this same thing was hanging over his head when he took the Ole Miss job, and all he's done is make them 18-3. Right? Like this saying, like none of this is new information. We don't have any new information. The case was dismissed or whatever. The young lady recanted her statement, all of that stuff. So like nothing is new. And he was still able to recruit with 6-7 transfers to Ole Miss. Still has them in top 25 and had them 18-3 in the SEC. So like all of that stuff is real. Right? And then and that's Ole Miss basketball, where they really just don't care. Right? They were willing to take the gamble, willing to be the team that actually gave him a shot. What would he be able to do in a place like Louisville, at a program like Louisville, with the fan support and the NIL war chest that we know that we have?
Yep. I
think he'd have a lot of success. And is that worth, whatever comes with it? Because I think he would have a lot of success. And that's what you have to weigh as a fan. And that's what, if he is a legit candidate, what Josh Hurd, the administration, and everybody at the university would have to weigh as well.
I know I've spoken on this a lot. I think that's my hardest part, is because of what we've been enduring for the last couple of years. Like people, you can bring up like the optics of it, the way people will talk about Louisville. They're already talking about Louisville that way. Yeah, they've been talking about Louisville that way. Like, remember we talked about a couple of years ago about just go full in on being the bad guys? Like, I don't think this is that same circumstance, but like, who cares at this point? He's gonna win and he'll get Louisville back. I just worry if you have one more bad hire, one more, failure of a hire, where Louisville basketball is Indiana basketball, is 20 years in the woods. That's what I worry about.
The only thing to that, though, is there someone else that you think you could have the same level of success? Because albeit Chris Beard has been very successful, he hasn't won a national championship, right? That's not to say he can't go out there and win it at Ole Miss, but he hasn't won a national championship. There's only X amount of coaches coaching right now that have, right? There's only a handful, right? Like so like, can you get the same type of production, the same level of success, whatever that may be, or potential level of success, we really don't know till you hire him, with someone else, whether that's a Musselman, Tang, whoever. You know what I mean? So, like that's what you have to weigh.
And overall, those names, Musselman, Tang, Beard, those I'm happy. Either one of them, I'm happy. Yeah. But I guess my question is, Ethan Moore always asks me this question every time. Do you think you're going to win a national championship? Can that coach win a national championship here? Like, can Musselman win a championship here? Can Tang win a championship here? I don't really know. Like, with Beard, I feel he's gotten to the championship before. I feel like it can happen.
Tech.
You know,
With Texas Tech. I mean,
exactly.
it's impressive. It's impressive. Can't act like it ain't.
Yeah. So that's my issue. Is I know the rest of the list is probably going to be a lot of guys that I say I don't know about. But
yeah,
if you have a guy who feels somewhat like a sure thing about winning, that's hard for me to say no to.
Yeah, it's understandable. I mean, it's understandable.
And that's what we talked about before you joined, Jeff. Like, a part of me is of the belief it's like, you're not going to change the perception of everything, and the brand, the damage, the brand equity is already, as somebody pointed out, who's that? Becky said it's already really damaged. We need to win. I understand that. So then it becomes the discussion. It's like, okay, if it's like what Nick said, it said optically, like, people, when you go outside this fishbowl in this market in this state, how the program's viewed. Okay, if you hire, and this is, again, it's not zero to Chris Beard, it could be Will Wade, it could be anybody else, Kelvin Sampson that brought up with the baggage, you're not going to change the perception of how the masses view you. I'm sorry, you're just not. Like, the damage is done for probably better part of the next 20 to 30 years. Like, if just think about, like, I know, Jeff, you talk about USC and everything, like how you have some fandom with Reggie Bush. Like,
yes,
it's still brought up some of the stuff that everything now is legal. It's still brought up of everything that transpired with that. Like, I'm sorry, it's like, that's just going to always be there. And it sucks, but you can lean into it like the U. And again, I cannot reset this enough. This is not about Chris Beard. It's about anybody with baggage on that, because obviously in a perfect world, I'd love Kelvin Sampson, as I said multiple times. But I don't think that's going to happen. So, but all I ask, and we've said this before you joined, Jeff, and I'd love to hear your opinion about it, but just if Josh Hurt, I just hope he doesn't listen to anybody, any outside news. Like, I don't want former players. I don't want him to listen to sports talk radio. I know that's terrible for us, unless it's ESPN Louisville Plus. He can listen to us. But to not listen to anybody and just make his own hire. He goes to the search firm. It was like, we think this is going to be a sure thing. Like, I heard Ennis say, Josh Schertz from Indiana State, a non-sexy name. Do I think that's too big of a leap for him? Probably. But again, college basketball and college football, much different, but kind of a Kellen DeBoer situation too, where he's won everywhere he's been. And if it's a non-sexy name, Josh Hurd lives with it. It's a career decision for him because he can't hide behind the interim. And that's where it's like, it's got to be his hire, and whatever the search firm and basketball people in his inner circle, not former players, not any donors or sports talk radio. That's what needs to be his kind of driving force on this next hire, because let's be honest, it looks like you're in about 12 more games of this, and it looks like they are moving on.
Yeah, just to your point, Phil, I think this will have a lot more of Josh's vision for whatever, because
we
this
tried
is
it your way. We're trying it my way now.
Yes, and I think that interim term had a lot to do with the last thing. Like, right, like being an interim, you have to do what someone else says. Like, let's be honest, because you're trying to get the job. And well, now he has the job, and now he's had success at the job. Whether you want to say the Brom was in his lap or whatever, regardless, that was his first big hire as the full-time AD, and it was a home run, right? Then as the full-time AD, he's locked up Jeff Walls. He's locked up DeBoer. He's locked up a lot of coaches that were on shaky grounds, McDonald or whoever, right? Like they were on, I'm not going to say shaky grounds, but like had, maybe had an inkling of going somewhere else, and he's locked those names up. So that it all bodes well. But this will be the biggest hire of his career. Let's be honest. Louisville basketball is the premier sport on the campus, barring none. Like, it's really not close. As great as football was last year, and as great as football has been, over the course of the last 2 decades or whatever, basketball is what drives this city, is what drives the state. I mean, it's just how it works. And so therefore, I think he will have full autonomy about who he wants to hire, and whoever that is, whether it is the Chris Beards or the Tangs or the Musselmans, or if it is a guy like dude down in South Carolina that's killing it,
Lamont
right?
Paris
Or
crushing it down there.
Lamont Paris, or your guy from Indiana State. Like, it'll be his hire, and he will have to live with that. And I think he'll be okay with whoever he's able to choose. Now, don't get it twisted, though. There will be coaches that parlay the Louisville job into raises. We see it across the country. Like, that's what happens. But you shouldn't be discouraged. You know why? Because Nick Saban left Alabama football And football coaches did the same thing. So like people were like, oh, you don't need to go after so-and-so because they're just going to use your name for a raise. No, the same thing happened at Alabama football, which is the premier job in the entire sport, right? So it's going to happen. It's just what happens. So don't be discouraged by that. I think at the end of the day, like I said, as long as Hurd, like I think this will be his decision. He will not be influenced by former players. Luckily, there isn't another hot, sexy candidate that used to play at University of Louisville and that used to coach at Kentucky out there. At least I don't think. And so, therefore, this will be his biggest, most prominent hire, and we will have to live with whoever it is. And we just hope that they're a lot more successful than what we've seen over the last few years. That is for damn sure, because it has to work. The economy of the city of Louisville is dependent on this next basketball hire. That's how significant it is.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, it's something that it's just with the we said it again and again when Jeff Greer was helping out a bunch. He would always bring up it's like mid-major coach Kenny Payne or Greg Garr that were kind of the last go rounds that you could afford, and people was like Greg Garr, oh my god. 13th in the country. Not too terrible. So again, I just caution folks, maybe it'll be a Josh Heupel situation with Tennessee football where you're pleasantly surprised and there doesn't need to be a revolt. But if it's not a big name, I'm okay. I think it needs to be like just optically for the psyche of the fan base. But if not, okay, I'm going to shut up for 7 months. It's like we tried it the alum way. We tried it for the coach of the year. Quite frankly, 2 prearranged marriages in my eyes where it looked like it was going to be Chris Mack. It's like his wife's from here. Tom Jurich had his eyes on him, and then obviously Vince Tyre was able to land him. And then you go to Kenny Payne. It's like, oh, this is kind of the sexy thing. Would you see with Georgetown and Patrick Ewing? You've seen it with schools hiring their alum.
Juwan Howard was big at that time. Penny Hardaway was big at that time. There were former players having success at their alma maters. Like it kind of made sense, right? Like at least and then Kenny Payne's prowess as a recruiter, right? He's going to have these UK guys coming back to Louisville to practice, and we saw Bam Adebayo actually do that, right? Like so, it had a lot of things like going for them well in the beginning optically. Now, really, you were like, hold on, it's taking forever to hire staff. You don't have a strength coach. You're not, the roster's not being turned over, and you kind of push back on NIL. Like, hindsight's 2020. You're looking back at all that stuff. That's kind of like, kind of saw a lot of red flags. We just kind of ignored them. At least I did. I can say I did. I can't speak for any of you guys, but I can say I saw these things. And just because I wanted us to be good and I wanted Kenny Payne to be good specifically so bad, kind of ignored a lot of things that if I would have saw that anywhere else, kind of like, you're pushing back on NIL. You're taking forever to hire your staff. You're taking forever to hire a strength coach. You're not turning over the roster in an age where everybody turns over the roster, right? Where you get 6, 7, 8, 9 new players when a new coach comes in, and you only get about 3 freshmen and Brendan Huntley Hatfield. Is like, okay, I think this will work, because we were at least had 13 wins the year before. And you followed up with 4 wins. It's like, that obviously didn't work.
which is why, like, though, you look at this and going into this hire for Josh Hurd, you touched on it. And real quick, guys, if you're in here, if you're watching the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, whatever it is. If you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, please go to YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. We really want to grow this platform up. So really, that's a big help to us. So please go over to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're hitting the like button.
The least you can do for your free content, damn it.
Yeah, damn it. I'm staying up late tonight. It's a 9 o'clock game. I'm not used to this. I got 2 kids. I got to take care of them. My wife's taking care of them. But anyway.
Basically torture. I mean, it's not.
Right. But fair or not to Josh Hurd, that's the one thing. You look at this hire, and if he does fail with this hire, it's completely, that's how you're going to look at his tenure. Like, absolutely. Outside of all the great things he's done, Jeff Brom, and I know people, I've even said it too, like, it was an easy one. He wanted to come back. But outside of that, there's also, with all the other Olympic sports, they're doing great. They're doing fantastic. Some of them better than they ever did under Jurich in some areas. But problem is, the average fan does not care about those sports. Like, the average fan doesn't even know. Like, until that championship game, I bet most fans didn't even know that volleyball was doing as well as they did at some point. Like, when I say that, like, yes, you see it all over Twitter and stuff like that. But outside of that, I'm not really keeping an eye on those sports every single day if I am who I was 10 years ago.
That's true.
So, and that's what's so difficult, because Josh Hurd, I guess, like, right now it's whether it be a hire like Chris Beard, whether it be a hire like Jerome Tang, whether it be Joe Schmo, some guy who we don't really know of, it's going to really it's going to weigh on him, and it just changes the entire dynamic of his tenure here at Louisville, and that's why I'm got to be rooting for him to do well there. Let me go ahead. Sorry, I'm also managing all the crap that's going on on screen. Yeah. So.
I'm reading up all the. But even when you see what's going on with Damon Stoudemire down at Georgia Tech in year one, it's just like if there was just a glimmer of hope or something, we're not having these discussions. Like it's so depressing to just be talking about this because Jeff, I know you go down this route too, where you try to talk football, you try to talk Lamar to open up the show on Saturday. I know Nick, it's just going zero to the coaching search stuff all the time when it's January. Well, technically almost February, so thank God this month's almost over for that.
But the longest month ever.
I know, man.
Oh my God!
Because I just want to react to college basketball game. That's why it's like Jack Grossman, who's just like an absolute therapy dog, who just is breaking down college basketball from East Coast to West Coast, from North to South, and it's like, I forgot what that's like. And it's like you go through some of these because that's all. There's no analysis. Like you can talk about, the guys aren't getting back on defense. You can talk about some of the players. And I think there are some bright spots on this team individually that, as Eric Crawford said, just look confused. Like he said, it just kind of look like they don't know what they're supposed to do. And that's not on them. That is strictly on coaching, not relaying the message. I know the Mike Tomlin sound that's been played at a ton on our airways.
Nauseum from like a year ago, which is hilarious.
It's
blank, but somebody found it. It is
this
is from a year ago. Like Tomlin said this on the pivot literally in 2022. Maybe
if you have an agenda, we will find sound to support that agenda. Damn it!
But it just shows that I think that people are just clamoring for that, and I think Bob's Paul's Rogers mics it picks up. Kenny is yelling at them to do stuff. Like it's not like he's just out there rolling the ball out there.
Right.
It's just not getting through to him at all. So that's just kind of where we are, unfortunately, with that. And I'm seeing Cecil saying, is Scott Drew a realistic candidate for Louisville? Personally, I think, why it would be great, but you have your own legacy down there that you've built. And again, this is just devil's advocate, and I know Bob has kind of said this multiple times, Nick, and I know you've kind of talked with about it. I don't think money's necessarily a issue. It's a component, but I think there's a relation. It's like that's his own thing down there. He just got a new arena, and the camera angles are absolutely terrible down there. If you ever watched a Baylor game this year in that new arena,
they are. They're
so bad. I'm just like,
it's only a 7,500 seat arena. That's why.
I'm just like,
Duke's arena is very small too, and the camera angles are awful. They're a little better than Baylor.
Yeah, Baylor's better than this, but man, it's just I think that's his own thing, and everyone's like, oh, he's from Indiana. Like, okay, maybe I hope I'm wrong. It would be wonderful to have somebody like that and build up the persona of the program again, and somebody who's won a national championship recently. I just think when ego's in play, he has his own thing down there. He seems to be doing okay. They just got another top recruit, or they were in the running for the top recruit between Kentucky, Duke, and Baylor. Like that's he seems to be doing okay. And optically, I hate saying it, it is one of the top 6 or 7 programs, but optically, people live in they live in the prism of like, man, it looks like it's a mess there. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just playing devil's advocate, but that's somebody what agents are probably conveying. Now, they'll get paid off of it, and ego is a funny thing where a bunch of coaches think that they can take on anything and do it. You have to be wired a little bit like, kind of a little bit crazy. You got to take on some of these jobs, but I think some of these coaches that are out there, I think it may be a little bit of humble pie, unfortunately, that they're going to get paid off this job.
The question to me, though, like, if you're – from an outsider perspective, is it everything with the basketball program is a mess? Obviously, you can that narrative has been floated out there. Kenny Payne's used that narrative for 2 years now, year and a half, whatever you want to say. Is it, or do these coaches, do they view it like how I view it as, no, he isn't the right guy to do the job. He can't handle the job. He's not big enough for the job. I would be that guy. I can do that easy.
I mean, surely they're confident enough in their own abilities that they just see this as, this guy's just not the right guy for the job. I can step in there and handle this I could recruit.
Because
I can coach.
That's what I think every coach is. I think every coach is high on their own farts and thinks that they can they would be the guy to do it every single time. You have that kind of I don't want to say undeserved confidence. You should have
high
that
on
confidence.
their own farts.
I know, but you know what I mean. Like,
that is wild. That was wild.
That needs to be on a T-shirt.
But they should be.
We need to put that in a merch line. That needs.
You work on that. You're the sales guy. You two are the sales guys. You all work on that.
You know what? I'm not putting that on a shirt. If you're putting that on a shirt, I'll help you sell it 100%.
ESPN Louisville Plus, hide our own farts. There we go. That's perfect. I think, but that's where I guess that's just where my question sits with it. Like everything that I've seen in the past, no matter what situation it is, the coach thinks that they're the guy to do it. They're the one. They're going to be able to do it. I don't know.
No, so when it comes to Louisville, this job, that's why when people tell you like everybody's going to be out on this job, that's just not true. Like that I just know that's not true because one, your dark cloud is gone, right? Whatever this mysterious dark cloud that everybody was so scared of that hung over Chris Mack's head for 4 years, that hung over the first couple of months or whatever of Kenny Payne, that is now gone, right? Yep. Like that is gone. And you have to realize you have a 22,000 seat arena full of fans that are clamoring for any glimpse, any hope of having a successful basketball team. I'm not saying you got to come out and be 30-3 the first year, but if you win 20 games, that's more than what's been done here in the last 5 years, right? Like that's going to give me
Paget level
of hope.
Paget level is all I need right now.
We won one game against Miami, and there was like 1,000 people that showed up extra of what's been all season, right?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like you give me a top 25 recruiting class. Like give me something like that is what people are begging for. And I don't want to underrate this. Louisville in the 502 circle, like that is a war chest. And that is just something a lot of schools just don't have. Right? You see how that is translating on the football side of things. Right? With 85 scholarship players and all these transfers and all that. What do you think it'll be like if you had a successful basketball team? Jeff, like, what do you think like that would be like? And with basketball, all you need is about 3 or 4 dudes, right? You don't need 25 transfers. You get 5 or 6 guys.
Why do you think he doesn't use the NIL? Why don't you think anybody? It can open to anyone.
And this goes off. Sorry, this goes off of that question, Phil. Can you clarify for me? The 502 circle, is that because people try to act like that was just football? Is it not? What is? How does that work? It should be for everything.
NIL collective. It is Louisville's NIL collective. Is what the 502 circle is, right? So essentially, when how it works is, if the school, the university, the program locks in on the player, right? You pitch the player on the program first, like what you do, like, hey, this is how we'll use you. This is how we can get you to the next level, whatever you want to achieve, right? Like they have to connect and bond with the coaches first. And then with the collectives, the collective comes in and gives you essentially an endorsement deal, right? Like whether it's, I don't know, let's just use a round number like 50K. Like you'll get 50K for making X amount of appearances across the course of a year. You'll get 100K, make X amount of appearances, X amount of events over the course of 2 years, whatever it is. And you'll get in, and it's not just all up front either. It is over the course of the event. You may get a signing bonus, whatever that may be. So if the grand total of the contract is 50K, you might get 10K signing bonus, whatever. And then you get the next 10K at the next event. The next 10K, so 50K over 5 events, 10K an event, etc. That's kind of how it works. We're just using round numbers. So you get pitched on the program first, and then the NIL comes through to like, hey, here's a little bit to hold you over until your next venture or to the next year or whatever. Like that's how it works. And like I said, with football, you're doing that with, I don't know, X amount of transfers, X amount of high school guys, whatever. You have recruiting classes. I mean, Brahms had recruiting class. I mean, his last recruiting class, you had 25 transfers and 15 high school guys. It's 40 kids, right? With basketball, even if you have a complete roster turnover, which would only happen year one, I'd imagine, you're talking about 9 guys and about 4 to 5 that's getting the real NIL money. And then you have a competitive team right off the bat. Right, that's how it works. And in the war chest of NIL, if you get the right coach and a successful basketball program, would probably, this is no exaggeration, quadruple whatever they give to football. Like that's just being honest, because that's how much people love this basketball program.
Sorry, I'm just amazed. Allegedly, KP just got a technical. Allegedly, but that's not me doing. That's not me doing play by play right there.
You know what? Damn it!
Look,
I need that. I need Kenny Payne to get thrown from a
Same.
game. Get yourself thrown.
They're down
Throw
20,
Bob-
by the way.
Bob
They're down
Knight,
20.
throw a
They
chair.
were. Yeah, they were. It was competitive, and now they're down 20 points. Just for those.
Yeah. Not looking good.
Allegedly.
Throw it at the Tiger that looks like Andrew Bosch.
Dude, I mean,
The high Tiger.
Clemson,
He's high.
half of Clemson's players looks like extra from the movie Teen Wolf. Like, I mean, not to do, it's crazy. So I guess Okorafor got he thought it was a foul, and then KP got pretty high. Good. Is that KP's first technical? Serious question.
I don't remember him ever getting a technical.
I've
I
been
don't
to a
remember
lot
him
of games.
having
I've
enough
never seen
energy
him
to
get a
get one.
technical.
Yeah,
That may be first. Yeah.
Nick, you may have some. I think you're good to say it. Double D's in Allen Fieldhouse right now watching Kansas, so I think you're good, and we will just.
And he'll just call me
say
tomorrow.
Sorry. Yeah, we'll just get a text tomorrow. But you want to share with maybe some insight, newsman Nick?
And hit the like button for Nick sharing this insight. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe.
I don't know. Like, I hope I don't get anybody in trouble. I don't think I'm telling.
Just say
this.
allegedly, and you'll be good.
Well, allegedly,
I love it.
I might have got a text from somebody close to the situation, and evidently there's some health issues on the basketball team currently. Sky just got hurt, and Ty is sick. A lot of foul trouble too. We might be seeing some more, Zan
McCool.
Payne. A little Aiden McCool action tonight.
Guys, they're making balloon animals. They're making long balloon animals in the background. I don't know if you're seeing this.
I do see that.
Like in the stands, they're connecting balloon animals and running them
Are they-
the length of the court.
People
Look.
dressed up as earlier.
Dressed up as what? Sorry, you're cutting in and out a little bit. Your audio.
Oh, holy shit. Not kidding. That's a long string. You know what that looks like?
It's a balloon snake.
Did you ever have a goldfish? It looks like goldfish poop.
Yes.
No, and I'm seeing the question about the Texas Tech coach again. From
On
the
that
Scott
note, I'm getting a
Landry.
refill.
I could care less who it is. Like that is a long balloon animal. My God, sorry, I'm like ADD kicking in on that. I was like, oh, surely it's not that long, but so that for the mixed up.
It's like a
but-
cup snake, but with balloon animal.
But again, no, you could say any name to me, and I'm open to listen. I'm open for dialogue about it. I'm open to. Was that Jeff Brom in that? No, he's in Orlando. I thought.
There's a good option.
Yeah,
Jeff
he's
Brom.
recruiting. He's recruiting. Shout out to Ty Spalding. He let us all know they're on the move in Tampa, Orlando. They're hitting all of Florida this next couple of days to bring in some high level recruits over on the football
Did you see
field.
he dropped the puck at the U of L hockey game over the weekend?
He did.
Yeah, he
That's
was
awesome.
UK got Vince Marrow and he threw down an L's down. So of course,
Big dog.
of course,
Was
Big
his
Dog
was his headset plugged in?
No, he was eating Frito. That was cool.
That's an
but
ongoing joke that Mark Stoops gives him a fake Fisher Price headset, and he's probably going to join good old Jeff Brom's staff at one point. If I had to guess in the years to come, they seem very buddy.
I was told. No, I've said this on the air, so I don't mind sharing it. I was told that is like a real thing. Like when Brom
the
got
Chris
the job
Bond
here.
relationship. Oh yeah, it's
No,
there.
that like I didn't like now I think we see it more, but before Brom actually like ever coached a game, I was told like him and Vince Morrow are like really tight in that there was talks of him joining the staff. There were a couple of issues though, from what I was told. Allegedly. One was the salary. He makes a lot of money at Kentucky. Like just paying him, like justifying paying him that much just was kind of a thing. And two, allegedly, he doesn't have doesn't have the best relationship with the Clarksons. And so that allegedly was a thing that kind of, I don't know if there is any beef or anything, but like apparently their relationship isn't that great. So it was the money, the Clarksons is what's keeping him in Lexington. But allegedly, as you know, the years go by and the Clarksons move on, you know, whether it's, you know, for the next level or, you know, leaving to go somewhere else or whatever the case may be, after his Louisville career is wrapped up, there could be a Vince Morrow sighting in Louisville for good.
It'd be a lot of money to
It's
pay
just
for.
kind of what I was saying.
It's a lot of money to pay for a non-coaching role. So
Yeah, that's the thing. Like that is what That was the thing because they right now it just doesn't make sense for Louisville to pay. I think Morrow maybe makes like $1.5 million, $2 million a year.
Oh yeah,
But
I
he's
mean,
their
these
he's their ace
Kentucky
recruiter.
assistant coaches. I mean, they get more money than they know what to do with. Oh, it's like Sister Mary of the Poor community college is sniffing around on Vince Murrow. Mitch Barnhart, money bag. Just tosses them stuff over. I mean, shout out to him. I mean, again, best job in America, and I mean that sincerely. Like that's if you can do that, and he gets his name dropped occasionally, it is a blessing to have Mitch Barnhart just backing up the bricks trucks for good old Stoops and company there for just the play that they've had with that. The other issue, okay, I see it, Robert.
Yeah. I will say though, Morrow is their ace recruiter. Like Morrow comes in and invades the city of Louisville, or was at the time invading the city of Louisville for its talent because of Vince Morrow. Any player that they get out of Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, that's all. Obviously, the state of Kentucky. That's all Vince Morrow. Like when I would talk to recruits that would like when I was living in Bowling Green covering sports, and they would always get a couple of the best players out of BG every year. I would always ask them like, "Who's your guy? Who are you talking to?" They're like, "Yeah, we like Stoops and we like," but my guy's Big Dog. My guy's Vince Morrow, and I'm like, okay, like
he's gonna tweet. He will tweet on the morning of his daughter's wedding about losing a recruit. That's the type of stuff you can't get anywhere else. Perspective. That's Big Dog's on it.
Yeah, so that is the type, and that's why they love him so much in Lexington, and that's what covers that $2 million a year or whatever he gets salary. Like is going out and getting, the best players that you can get at Kentucky, and that's what he does.
No,
it's insane. Nick, what's it like having? Oh, is Nick even here? He just keeps leaving, popping in and out. I don't know. I was asking what it's like to have a.
Oh yeah, no.
Hey, Bobby V on the TV right now.
He fell asleep. Nick fell asleep.
Yeah, just texted Pops was like, I said, don't do anything stupid. You're on. You and Paul are on the ACC network right now, so I was just giving him a text.
What's it like seeing your uncle like on every other commercial on ACC network? Like he's on all the time. They always have like it filtered in there with everything else. I've seen it like 6 times since we've been on.
Like it's kind of cool. I still get excited.
Yeah,
I'm still a little kid. I'm like, hey, I know that guy. I met him one time.
Yeah.
But also, it's always good for the V family. Like keeping his legacy alive. Like it's not just basketball. There's some cool stuff to the foundation. Save my dad's life.
Just to clarify for Nick's terrible audio, for the V Foundation, definitely support and donate to the V Foundation. There you go. Also, hit that fucking like button. Thank you.
Please.
Well, yeah, we need to start giving away prizes and shame people to like. I need to get the interns on it when Tanner is over there feverishly looking at like 1990s, NHL covers and whatnot of live. It's like, Tanner, you need to get us to 1,000. That's what you need to do. You and the crew there. So Nick, that's an assignment tomorrow. We shame them on the air to help with this. Apparently Jeff Goodman addressed yesterday's situation. So I read the article about that. I was actually texting with Grossman earlier. Are you all aware of this? Like what happened? Like they got mad about the documentary on the Big East or Providence or something, but he's friends with that Cooley?
Then evidently he was saying that like they're gonna like there's going to be legal action, and then Portnoy got a hold of it, and then it just took on like legs of its own.
Well, they took down the video off YouTube, and then I know Barstool said they were like would gladly put it up because, of course, that's what they would do. But they basically said it was like for a new Big East type of documentary that would focus like on Cincinnati and Xavier, like their rivalry and whatnot. And he said he made lies about it. That's kind of what I gathered. And I know Cooley and Goodman are boys, but that's the only thing that I've really gathered. So I guess the guys shared their DMs with each other.
Yeah. Kind of so the guy on Twitter, he did, and both Goodman and his buddy from the Field of 68, Rob, I can't.
Doster.
Yeah, Doster. Yeah, they both like Doster did it in public. Like he just mentioned the guy like on Twitter, but Goodman actually shot him some DMs and was kind of like threatening to sue and both of them was telling him to get his lawyers ready and all these different things. And the guy was kind of trolling Goodman in the DMs, like, yeah, whatever, buddy. So yeah, I haven't really followed up on it a lot, but I did see the DM conversation, and I did think that was pretty funny.
It seems like a nerd fight.
What were
Yeah, exactly.
So
It's exactly
what
what it
exactly? I mean, I'm a little lost. What were they mad about? The documentary,
but they
premise,
did something on Providence, and it kind of took some shots at Ed Cooley, like in some of the things that were said, and he said it wasn't true. So I guess, and Jeff, it sounds like you're better versed on this than I am, but he was essentially like Providence fans were saying like that Ed Cooley was having like an extramarital affair, and was like just doing some stuff all there, and I guess they thought it was like blatant lies, but those were some of the things that were conveyed in the documentary that they said weren't true. So I guess they said they were attacking his character and whatnot. So again, as Strebel has gone on massive rants about, it's like get somebody, that feels the same way about you that the Field of 68 feels about Ed Cooley.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a YouTuber, I want to say. Like just a guy on social media. It wasn't an official, it was just a guy like on social media that created this documentary. Like that's what it was. And so he posted it, and obviously guys like Jeff Goodman and stuff have power, so they got to take it down. And they sent this guy the DMs that we're talking about, and that is where in Doster, like I said, Doster mentioned him just in public. His tweets are public, but Goodman went to the guy's DMs and was kind of like trying to shake him up, like he was Goodman was some kind of gangster. Like he was like, "Yeah, man, we're gonna get these lawyers, and you better watch your back." And it's like, bro, what? Like, what are you talking about?
Okay, I'm not going to do play-by-play here, but something's got to be said. If I were watching an orange team and a team that wears red predominantly, and I never condone a dirty play. I don't condone. But just act like these guys are doing one-handed bounce passes in transition when three Louisville players, to their credit,
that was nasty, by the way.
I
kind of like jumped a little bit when it happened.
They were running back, so I guess if you're taking positive marks from last year, that wasn't the case when they would be in the shot and weren't even past half court. But now I'm like, they're not even. Again, don't undercut them. I don't want you to end somebody's career, but it just. I think Kenny Payne getting technical tonight, I think actually made people extremely happy, because it's like you're showing that you give a crap. Like that's
a pulse, showing a pulse.
It's just again. I know. I don't know why I'm even getting worked up over a fast break. I just
let me ask you guys this, because I've heard different people say different things on the air. How do you guys feel about the staff, like the actual coaching staff? I've heard people say they think it's the worst staff in the country. Like, do you think that no one, let's say there was an interim in place, right? Whoever just picked your coach. Do you are you just so against everyone on the staff that you like the interim wouldn't make any sense to you? Or do you think this is the worst staff in the country? It kind of feels like the worst staff in the country. Like, I don't know, but you know what I mean? Like, where do you guys land on that?
I put oddly enough, and this never would want, like, if we just want to have like some kind of peace of mind of being like, we're going to move on, this guy's going to get the reins, he gets a month and like a week. Is that what it is? It's something like that. Then we're going to have to deal with.
I would have the first day of shame, and
right. And I know he has no interest in doing it, and he wouldn't want to do it. And I know everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, this wouldn't be the guy." But like, the one thing I saw, and maybe I'm wrong in this, but during that Miami game, and I know we look in retrospect, that Miami game was not what it. Well, nobody ever really put a lot of eggs into that basket, if we're being real. But at the same time, people were like a little bit taken aback while watching that game. It was the most active. It was the first time I ever saw him stand up the entire season. It was Danny Manning. It was the only time. And I know. I see the smirk and the laugh, and I know. It's the same.
No, but I'm laughing because it was true. That's what
he stood up.
He stood up, but no, he was active. He was working up and down he was like pushing Kenny Payne out of the way to coach. And I was like, I finally saw some fire from him. And it died like the next week. But at the same time, like, it was the only game that I've ever seen that before. And I was like, whoever that guy was in Miami, maybe whatever the club they went to the night before, whatever happened, whatever it was, I liked that Danny Manning. Not for long term, not for anything serious, but just like a guy to give me some relief. That's the guy that I want. I'll save that.
I just think it's very interesting because Nolan Smith left Duke for this.
Look,
and
He got pushed
I
out of Duke
completely
for this.
agree. Go, Jeff, but I have thoughts on this, but go ahead on that.
And my thing is, and whether he got, he doesn't have the best relationship with Shire or whatever it is,
They were at
I'm
each other's
pretty sure-
weddings.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure if he would have wanted to come back, probably could have came back. I don't know that for sure, but it probably could have came back. And my thing is, Jameson was never a coach. He wasn't even on the bench. He wasn't even behind the bench. He was the director of operations, which essentially is a secretary. I mean, it's not a bad thing. You get paid well, but you were the secretary at Miami. You weren't a coach. Danny Manning has been a head coach. He NCAA champion. He's a made man. He's good. He's good to go. And if he never coaches another game, he'd be okay. The person who suffers the most from all of this is Nolan Smith, because if everything happens the way we think it's going to happen, and everybody's fired, you get your new coach who brings in his new staff or whatever, like what happens to Nolan? You know what I mean? Like, can you go crawling back to Duke? Can you because you were the one, you were known as the up and comer, you were the ace recruiter, you were
Top 40 under 40.
pick.
Yeah, I mean he's
know what I mean? Like
made every list. I agree.
Yeah, you were the one that getting the G League interviews and all that stuff like that. And now, on your resume, you have a 4-28 season and a 6 and whatever. This will be granted, Kenny Payne is the head coach, but you were a part of essentially the worst tenure in the history of one of the most storied programs in college basketball. And you had the most to gain and to lose. Because like I said, Jameson is going to go back. He's got a home in Oregon. He'll be good with Nike. He's a Nike guy. He'll be good. Danny Manning will be good. He's had his chance as a coach and everything. Kenny the same way. Nolan is the one that kind of suffers and the same with Milt Wagner, all those guys that they don't really have nothing to lose. Nolan had everything to lose, and I'm very interested if everything goes the way we think, where he'll be able to land once this is all said and done.
No, I've said this discussion multiple times when I helped out with the McDonald's All-American game. You know this. You guys have met people that just have it.
Yes.
You can't describe what it is, but you're just man, they get it. And I'll tell you what,
that's
Nolan
you for me, Phil.
Oh, thank you. Some would argue that allegedly if you were watching the game right now. But I remember with Nolan, I was just man, this guy's ahead of his years. We're about the same age, and he maybe a couple years older. But man, I was just he's just sharp, man. He's on it, and just seeing what is kind of transpired with if he makes that, okay, sorry. If just seeing what's transpired in the back and forth Twitter battles, I the stuff with Nike and wearing it that doesn't bother me as much, but I understand the logic, and it's how you do one thing is how you do everything. And that's something that's really kind of been eye-opening for me with this. And then I started thinking, I was okay, he's leaving Duke to come to Louisville. That's strange, because although there's not many places that you can leave and it's a step down to Louisville. Duke's one of those places. Sorry, I mean to put it out there. I don't think I got the head-to-head, but with what he would there, and you understand, it's okay, well maybe he's a unique situation because Kenny is family to him and whatnot, and
family member,
and he wants to step out and do his own thing. That's admirable, and just shake things up.
And they sold out the honoring his father and his legacy. And
right, and that was and going back to the McDonald's All-American game, if you all want to go do some homework and look at some of the interviews when it was between Duke and Louisville, the main reason was because he said he was immature and wasn't prepared for how emotional that would be. That's why one of the reasons he didn't come here when it was down to Louisville and Duke.
Told me the same thing. Told me the same thing.
But he just seemed very sharp. And what's kind of been conveyed to me, I'm not sources guy, I'm not in the know guy, but some people that would know is that Nolan's kind of brought the guy some big time players that they would be on the radar. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the KP decision or it just feels like he's under a microscope of he can't have any sort of, extra baggage to put the university in a negative light, that the coaching staff won't look at him, but Nolan would at least do an introduction is kind of what was been conveyed to me. So I'm curious to piggyback off what Jeff said. It's man, he'll land somewhere. He's young, he's connected, he's got the Duke pedigree and whatnot. But I wonder where is that like a G League job? Is that something like his buddy who was on the coaching staff? It wasn't a teammate when they played at Duke. He's on the coaching staff for the Celtics now. Jefferson, but yeah, he's on the
Emil Jefferson.
Yeah, Emil Jefferson. Yeah, he's on the coaching staff for there. So he could. I'm confident he'll get a job somewhere. But I'm curious what it does to like the trajectory of like how quickly
there it
he
is.
gets. Yes. And that's what's kind of, is it stagnant? Is he have to have a couple pit stops? Because he was, I mean, all the up and comers, like it was like top 40 under 40, like Luke Murray was on there. Nolan Smith was on there. Like these are prominent, college basketball publications that were putting it out. And I'm curious because these coaches and guys know basketball. Like they just do. I know it's looking like that, but they don't. But the stuff off the court is what ultimately is going to hurt him with the back and forth on Twitter occasionally, some of the contractual stuff, like with the Nike Adidas stuff. Like I don't know how many other universities or ADs are noticing that, but one thing is like people are chatty Cathys about this. Like some of that stuff will get around.
But how do you make sense of just his demeanor, the way that he's handled himself since he's been here, which for the most part, like you see the flagrant stuff, and I get it, the fans in this kind of this fan base and many fan bases that are similar, being at Duke, you should know it. It's kind of like a pressure cooker. That's what you're going to deal with, especially when you're seeing the struggles that Louisville fans have been dealing with for years now at this point.
When you say that though, Justin, what do you mean? Like the stuff that he's like, what are you referring to? Phil said some of the Twitter stuff, but what are you exactly referring to?
Kind of going with Twitter, and then just kind of like just the way I view it personally is the way he handled day to day on the job. Like seeing just the little things, the wearing the Nike stuff, going out and acting like it's not a big deal. I obviously I don't know how he did when he was at recruiting, when he was at whatever. Maybe he was a consummate professional at that point. But the only thing that I can really comment are the things that I've seen. And I just never seen to me the coach that I was hoping to get. The guy that I was like, he was another one, like I said, from the beginning of this process, I was nervous as hell. I was scared about the hiring of Kenny Payne because he had never been a head coach. But then when he goes out and he took a sweet ass time, but when he finally did get his coaching staff, at least with Nolan Smith, I got the same feeling I got when when Kenny Payne gave his press conference was, okay, I got those warm and bubbly feelings of like, okay, this is a guy who gets it, who knows what it means to be a Louisville man. Credit Mark Blankenbaker. Like he knows what it means to be a Louisville guy and what it means to be home and to be in Louisville. And he kind of did the I'm home thing, whatever, I'm home dad. And like, Louis said this more dramatically than I will, but like he went to his dad's grave and did that whole stuff, and like that gets me. Like having a son and that kind of stuff, like that gets me. So it's almost like perplexing to see the way that I perceive that his job has been handled since he's been here. Like, and I can't tell if it's like frustration with the fans, with the coaching staff, with where he is right now, and just seeing, oh crap, Kenny was selling me a bill of goods too. I don't know.
Well, I think part of it is, I think some of it is that he was handcuffed, right? As an assistant, there's only so much you can do, right? At the end of the day, you do work for the man, and the man is KP, right? So there's only you're only able to do what you're allowed to do. The Nike stuff he messed up on. I mean, it's just what he did. He messed up. Like wearing Nike, going to the Wave 3 coach's show with the Nike stuff on. I mean, that just was a bad look. And I don't think he understood like the trauma that Louisville fans have been through. And so he initially, I think, kind of brushed it off. Like, oh, it's just, I'm working some Nike dunks or whatever. And it's like, no, dude. Because like Phil said, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And to me, it was, you add the fact that when that happened, you were in the midst of only a 4-win season. You were probably like 0-9 at that point, and it's kind of like, all right,
if you're not being sharp on this, what makes me think you're being sharp on the other stuff? Yeah,
exactly. Like you guys aren't even getting the little things right. You have this coach's show. We're 0-9 at the time, right? With losses to Lenore Ryan, even though it was exhibition, and every team we've played up until this point. Like, and you guys can't even put on a pair of Adidas, and you're about to be on local television. Yep. Like that's not good. And so I think. Nolan, what I will say to his credit, I guess the biggest feather in his cap, or now people, whether he wants to admit it or not, the G League thing almost looks like he saw this coming, Like you go in an interview for a job. I mean, I know he told me to my face like he's never planned on leaving, but I ain't never interviewed for a job I didn't want. You know what I mean? Like at least I haven't.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Or what happens when they offer you that job, right? Like it's like you said you want to be a head coach. They would have offered that to you. You telling me you would have told them no? You know, to go back to this essentially. And what also boded his in his favor was no Trent Flowers thing. He's the one that made out to be the good guy essentially. Like, I mean, just the way the story was told from Trenton, it was kind of like, Nolan was my guy. And I told Nolan, like, hey, for whatever reason, the point guard thing, whatever it was, like, I'm going to move on. Or whether it was the people saying he was getting killed at practice, he wants to play point guard, or whether he knew that it would be another 6, 7, 8 win season. Like, whatever the reason for him leaving, he informed Nolan, and Nolan seemed to be the one who kind of took, like, damn, like that was my guy. Like, I'm losing one of the big pieces to what I was bringing to the table when it came to Louisville. And so that I think works in his favor, because I do think one thing, like Phil said, that his aura, his presence will always be able to recruit. Like if he's at a program, like a nice program, he'll be able to help you get players. And that always bodes well for an up and coming young coach. It's just that this Louisville stint, I think, knocks him down a couple of pegs. Instead of being 2 years closer to being a head coach, maybe you're 2 years further away from possibly being someone's head coach.
Do you think the Trenton Flowers situation, do we perceive Nolan Smith differently today if Trenton Flowers were still here? And what I mean is, obviously, I feel the program would still be struggling. I don't think they would be winning that many more games, but you'd probably see maybe you have a player of that caliber and realizing he was the man who got it done. Does that change anything, you think? Or do you think that hurt his I don't know exactly.
Not if they're not winning. Not if they're not winning. I mean, if you still, whether you have Trenton Flowers or not, if you got 6 wins, you got 6 wins, man. I mean, it's just hard to cover the stench of losing, man. Especially losing at this capacity. Like we're down 20 plus points or 18 now to Clemson. Like you're down big to Clemson. You were down 30 at halftime to Virginia. You have 10 wins in 2. We're in February of 2024. Your coach was hired in March of 2022, and you have 10 wins in between then and now. Like 10 wins like that. Like, so nothing, absolutely nothing can cover that up. Like everybody's going down with the ship on this. Like, and that's just how it works.
Is that Zampane defense? There you go.
Got a block. Hey,
Nick, I know you had Eric Crawford on earlier this week. Did you all see his tweet in the last little bit? I don't know if we touched on this. It's ESPN Louisville Plus, Justin Soforo. Hit the like button. Jeff Lighty, Andrew Bosch, Phil Baker, Nick Valvano, the man, the myth, the legend, the boot is in there. But Eric Crawford tweeted this out. I don't really have a good feel. So somebody asked him, Robert Sherman, KY Knack on Twitter /X. I always like giving out the individual's name when they have funny names like that. Who's our next coach, Eric? I really don't have a good feel, so I'm not weighing in. I do think most of what's out there is just chatter. I think there are legit candidates who have hardly been mentioned and a few getting lots of talk who may not be among the finalists. I would imagine agents are pretty active in getting names out, but the more serious you are, the less you want your name out there right now.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
So, yeah, Ty shared a little screenshot from him when he was on LSL. I know Rutherford, our buddy, he sent some stuff out too. Just like, watch out for Musselman to be leaking some stuff. He's 10-10 right now. It's like, oh, you're not happy with me right now? Okay, I'll have my agent. I mean, it's Rick Pitino 101 talking with the Kings, or Cal talking with, possibly making the move out to the lake. Like it's like, if you're a little unhappy with me, right? Or the Texas stuff with Cal last year, you put some things out there where it's just like, you're not happy. Okay, well, they're interested in me. Top 6 program. That's the game.
It's exactly the game. And the thing about like what's like with that cloud being gone. And with the success of Louisville athletics, period, like this job may be one of the biggest jobs open in college basketball over the last few years. Like just because the cloud's gone, you have a premier stadium in a premier city with an airport, international airport. People underestimate having an airport in your city, right? Instead of having to fly in somewhere and drive an hour and a half. Like a parent actually told me this. This is like how I found out like how big having a nice airport is in the game of recruiting. Because when you go to like, let's just call it Clemson or Tuscaloosa or whatever, you have to fly into bigger cities and then drive to those places. Now, when you're a good enough program or good enough coach, that doesn't matter. But when you're a program, whether you're rebuilding, trying to get something back going, having a kid that can come from, let's just say Chicago and fly directly into Louisville and then be at their Galt House Hotel in 10 minutes, that matters to people. Like that actually matters instead of having to drive an hour and a half or 45 minutes to get to wherever you're going. And so all of those things is what makes the Louisville job so precious, right? And then in the age of transfer portal where guys are coming from across the country everywhere, NIL where you can get paid and there's a gazillion businesses and a gazillion fans that are willing to help you get whoever you need, you're going to get somebody that wants to be. You're going to get a lot of somebodies where agents are sending Josh Hurd text messages, that are emailing them, that are doing phone calls, that are working the phones to get their guy an opportunity to be here. That's the thing. Like this is a job somebody wants. A lot of somebody's want. It's just about Josh of doing the proper vetting system and getting the right guy for the job. Because there's going to be plenty of people to toss their hat, their name in the hat. It's just about getting the guy who's actually going to work. That's why it's so important.
If I wanted to email Josh Hurd, like if I was an agent, I just go to gocards.com, I guess. I don't know if it's because I always remember when Rick Pitino had it. It was always like his receptionist, and you had like Stevie Mass had his email on there. But yeah, that's some investigative journalism I'm doing right now. I guess I could just, I mean, he's on Twitter. Agent X is like, I'm going to slide in his DMs. Or is there a paper trail? Is there a middleman? Like these are the questions I want to know. I want to be the guy on the wall of just like how it's closed and release the documentary on it. These are the things that go inside my head.
I think so how it works typically the agents. What was my bad, Nick? Go for it.
No, my bad, Jeff. Sorry. No, I was just like, who is the hotshot agent for college basketball coaches? Like who's the Jimmy Sexton? Is there one for college basketball? I'm asking you guys.
Evan Daniels is kind of dabbling in those waters.
Oh yeah, I forgot it. Yeah.
Well, I'm just wondering if there's following for that.
Let me do some research.
Yeah, there isn't a known guy like the Jimmy Sextons or the Scott Borses of the MLB or whoever. Like there is, I don't think there is one for college basketball, but there is typically agencies, right, that have their guy that represents. CAA will have guys that represent whoever, or Athletes First or whoever these the big agency will be, and they will have direct contact to the AD while their client is coaching a team to the Sweet 16 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like they handle all the dirty work because their client is actually still coaching, but just letting them know like, hey, that Louisville job looks like it's probably about to pop open. Let them know this is our number and we'll be there. You know what I mean? Like, and then it's up to her to kind of, however he conducts the interview process, private jets,
search firm. That's how you get it to hide behind. Yeah. No, I get that.
And then from there, or having meetings on Zoom or whatever, driving up to discreet hotels in the middle of Indiana. What did he say he met Brom at in a hotel in Indianapolis? The back room of an Adidas outlet. Just funny. Doing all kinds of stuff to make it happen. And like you said, typically with big time jobs, you want, especially if it's a surprise, if it's a candidate people aren't looking at. I think I've heard people use the Brian Kelly to LSU and the Lincoln Riley to USC. Like nobody knew that was happening. Like nobody knew that was, you know what I mean? Like nobody knew that was
happening.
That's
what Eric Crawford's tweet's so interesting to me. It's like some people off the board that, and look, Eric's not hot take guy. I've always enjoyed whenever we've had opportunities to talk with him on the V show. I know he's a weekly guest on there with Bob and Nick, but maybe that's something we can kind of pry out of him a little bit in the days to come, Nicky V. That'll be a good guest booking for him to react to the week that was.
I feel like this is an important update that I should probably give, given the thumbnail that I put out. But we have an update in the Oklahoma and Kansas State game. Jerome Tang got 20 piece by Porter Moser. It looks 73-53.
I feel like he's not talked about much. Like as a name that maybe it's the sister gene. connection there, but that could be a name that could be in there. What'd you say, Nick? I'm sorry, you cut out.
No, I was just saying somebody actually mentioned Porter Moser earlier on the feed. I think.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, one guy did. Yeah, put that in either on YouTube or whatever. But yeah, that's not one that I really even thought. I didn't even realize he was at Oklahoma, to be honest, until I made the graphic. So
he has that a younger Clay from Sons of Anarchy look to him.
Yeah.
Hellboy. You see that a little bit there?
Yeah. Gosh, why they always see? We don't have any audio, but they just keep zooming in on Zan Payne the entire time. Thick thighs, Zan Payne run around. It's great.
Our buddy Tyler Griever said, and I'm sure this is kind of I'm going to say Nick had it first, just because we're in this little chat. Sorry, Griever, you got second. Per ACC Network, Sky Clark is out for the game after taking a knee to the head.
He scooped you. He scooped you, Nick. That was you. He's watching this. He put it out. That's what happens. You should have tweeted it out first.
Nick, there's a bit for Nick just to be as vague as possible on some just reporting out there that I feel like you can just kind of tip your cap a little bit. Like you can get some insight from Bob at a shoot around or something like that and just be as vague as possible, but just build up your clout on that. I think there's something there where it's just like Pops fills you in on something and just don't get it to where it's going to get Pops in trouble, but there's something where you could definitely build on that, as it is a 10-point game allegedly right now
for a black team. Okay, sorry, I couldn't say that. I shouldn't. That was a weird way for me to say that. I'm sorry.
Well, hey, they hit it. That's what I've been going for.
You know what the thing is? I wouldn't have thought anything of it until you started apologizing.
Until I walked it back.
I think we were all distracted because they finally hit a three.
And then you said, I'm
sorry. I forgot Jeff was in here. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
That was like I was listening to Shreeble today, and he talked about Phil said, this is courtesy Phil Baker. It's James Black History Month.
They threw me
started freaking out like James Black History Month. Oh my God! Like what is going? It's like.
They threw me under the bus. It was funny because it was based off Rummage's dream of Anna, and that's where it started.
Wild too. That was another wild thing I heard today. Oh my God!
I don't know if I'd ever admit something like that. Rummage, who is highlighting his comment right now about Beard winning, go cry, he says. But anyway, Rummage is very open.
That's going to be a great bit, by the way, for James. He's going to tell us one thing about him because he's kind of a man of mystery, James Black. So one day a month or one day for an entire month, it's going to be James Black History Month.
That's fantastic.
I didn't hear that. That's really good. He said, I scored a basket on the wrong goal. Like he showed me his photo when he was like 7. I was like, James, people are going to get that's the one thing. You've had Jack Grossman, who was a mic whore. You've had Mitch, who would give takes about fajitas. You'd have Cooper, who was basically a bag man. You had all these.
I was there for a little bit.
Yeah, and so that's
what you forget about me. It's fine.
Yeah. Sorry, you got this bit going. You're getting your face all over this now. But James Black's a man of mystery, and I feel like people need to get to know him.
Yeah, I love it because dude's hilarious, but he never wants to talk. He didn't want to talk for a long time, and I'm glad we found.
He's coming out of the shell a little bit, and it's like he's got takes, and he's honestly, I say this at all seriously. He's one of the funniest people at the station because his delivery, it just catches you off guard, and you just do a double take.
James has some singers, man.
He
so he's hilarious.
James got me on. I don't know if you saw. I think it was maybe it was Friday. It was Friday. Friday he was on Godby, and they ended up talking about Saved by the Bell. And he was talking about who his crush was, and they went through people were texting him and people were going through the different ones. And sorry, because we talked about the James Black stuff. He talked about Lisa Turtle or whatever. It's obviously not the white one. And he kept going, well, she was popular. And I'm like, no, I don't. Wait, no. He said she was smart. And I'm like, no, that's not what her thing was. Her thing was she was popular and rich. So I had to call into him. And if you want to see him struggle through that entire conversation or whatever, it was fantastic. Just an extreme. He hung up on me though. Still 10-point game, or allegedly.
Allegedly,
10-point game. Yeah.
Phil, did you ever meet Kelly Kapowski?
Yeah.
I think he was a little bit.
Yeah.
Did you ever meet Kelly Kapowski?
So, yeah, this is a story
go
that
to
I've
a
told
book
multiple
signing or
times that
something?
I'll never forgive myself. Massive crush on Tiffany Amber Thiessen,
Oh,
Saved by the Bell,
wow.
Kelly Kapowski, 90210. But one of the things she had a cookbook and she was signing it and she was like doing a meet and greet at Bourbon and Beyond, like one of the first years. And it was like at 3:00. It's like I'm not a music goer. Like I'm just not it's fun to go there. I don't like crowds. I'm I'm a germaphobe with all that. That's my Larry David in that. I'll go there, but I'm always like standing in the back and just like, oh, I think I've heard this song on the radio once. But she was there and it was like 3:25 on like a Saturday afternoon. And I was like, I got to go to this. So I bet I go there and buy her cookbook, whatever it is, and meet Kelly Kapowski. And she may put out, a restraining order after me, but thankfully married. So she didn't have to worry about that. But no, it was, I missed it. I didn't go. And I think we had a wedding that day and that's why I did not get to go there. And I still haven't forgiven myself. So thanks for bringing it up, Nick.
So he didn't.
Sorry, man. I couldn't help it.
Sorry, I'm writing that down for the mixtape.
Oh, yeah.
Did you say that might meet Kelly Kapowski and she may put out? So that's a pretty good one.
Yeah. Well,
Very
trust me.
depressing story.
If only. And just turned 50. Happy belated birthday to her. All right.
Reset.
Maybe 54, maybe
What would you have said?
62.
What would you have said to her?
That's a great question. I've often thought about that. I would have probably started like the song from their senior year where it's like, it seems like only yesterday we started football games, and like something from the Max, maybe sing that song. And then she's like, take your retainer out, you nerd, or something. Yeah, something like that. Oh, that Curtis
Security.
Williams shot looked good.
They always do.
Brandon
So are
Johnson.
we in agreement? Oh, that's funny. So I'm curious because I just read the Tyler Griever tweet about Sky Clark being taken, a knee to the head. Are we in agreement? You see the Tyler Johnson being out, obviously Dennis Evans, the injury bug with JJ Trader. We're all in agreement that this is done. Or because I've kind of had this like little voice inside my head like that could be used as a crutch. Or is there anybody else on that island with me that that could be a last ditch effort and maybe
Nick,
not a valid case, but something that people could in fact point to as saying, hey, I know the results are the results, but the injuries are still there. So I'm just curious. I'll put it out there as we're in the final 4 minutes of a game, allegedly.
Nick, how would you twist this, Nick? How would Bob twist it? Is my question.
funny.
How would
Are
he
you
try
alluding
to?
to a potential 3 year? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, look. I mean, to say that it's not a factor is, facetious. But I mean, at the same time, 10 wins in 2 seasons, like Jeff brought up. I mean, like we said at the beginning of the year, if you weren't going to use that Trent Flowers wasn't coming, that's not a crutch. Then you can't say that because JJ Traynor was hurt most of the year that's a reason. Did it impact the team? Yeah, absolutely. Is Sky being hurt going to impact the team? Absolutely. But you're not excusing anything away at this point. I think even the most ardent Kenny Payne people are, the most ardent Kenny Payne supporters, which I would put myself in that category, are looking at this realistically and saying, yeah, that sucks. That's, a shame. But I don't think JJ was, going to make a 30-point difference against UVA.
Can we get a shut it down?
Just bottom line.
We are winning the half right now, 32 to 28. Allegedly.
If there were a banner for that, I know Rutherford's put that out a couple times.
Yeah, I've seen Rutherford do that. It's actually been funny.
No, the thing is though, it's like I think there may have been an inkling if the win percentage was above 20%.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if it was close to the 30%, you may have an inkling of that. But when JJ was healthy and Dennis was on the team, a preseason loss to Kentucky Wesleyan. You know what I mean? Like you have that on the resume.
Right.
You had 4 wins on the resume last year. Like these are things that
it wasn't
really
like they were going gangbusters when they were here. Like I mean, were like you said, they were scabbing away wins against Coppin State for God's sake. Like,
let me ask you all this because, and again, now with Damon Stoudemire and Mighty Mouse down in Georgia Tech, you beating Carolina and Duke. people were talking about that was
in the
possible
same year.
In year one,
Wow.
and thought maybe that would be
or year zero, or
year zero, depending on what
okay,
it's on.
yeah.
But that's something that is fascinating to me to see. The schedule's favorable in February to close out the year. I'm just playing hypotheticals here. I'm not, with one win in conference play, I'm not expecting much. But I think we're in agreement with the bottom half of the ACC. Although better, there's some winnable games. With Louisville, I say that tongue firmly in cheek. What's the narrative with the injuries and some wins, which I think are going to be few and far between, but like what you're seeing in the second half, if you could win some games if you play a game start to finish, which I know they haven't. What's the narrative heading into the end of the season from an objective Josh Hurd and all those small Kenny Payne supporters with the injury bug, if they are playing better and winning some of those games, hypothetically?
I don't know, man. It's tough.
I'm with you. I'm just saying, like, it feels like what's done's done. Like, it feels like you're delaying the inevitable. But again, just wanted to pose the question: if you look at it,
there aren't enough deposits to make up for where we're at now. Like, I remember in the season, it really hit me. Like, obviously, I've been a negative guy for a year and a half, but like when we got to the point, like I think Jeff said it. Once you got to that 40 losses mark, and it was 10-40. You played 50 games, 10-40. Once we got there, that was the part where that was flip the table, I'm done. Like, I can whine and cry and bitch and moan like I've been doing for as long as I can. But once you got to 10-40, that's unfathomable. I don't know why.
That's worse than Kevin Stallings.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Let that marinate for a second. Kevin freaking Stallings, who looked like the whammy guy from Anchorman. Like, that's yes. What is he doing now, by the way, Kevin Stallings? That's the name I haven't heard from.
That was the most
Kevin Stallings or David Ketchner.
That was the most confusing turn of events where he went from he was good at Vanderbilt. Right?
For Vanderbilt.
Yeah, whatever you can be good at Vanderbilt. You know what I mean? However that works.
He was coaching Vanderbilt, right? When they like won against 2012 Kentucky in the championship game. Wasn't that him? Wasn't he there? Or was that somebody else? Maybe I don't know my Vanderbilt history nearly as much.
Sorry, Dio just missed a layup allegedly, and I I don't. Why do I do it to myself? I don't know why.
Your team's a little slower than mine, Phil, because
sorry, my bad.
Seen what he's gonna do next, and it'll probably make you even more mad.
Yep, there it is. Yep. That's that Hikes Point, the West Butual internet thing I got over here.
You're like right down the street from me. I don't know. Are you using YouTube TV as well?
No, this is the ESPN app.
Oh, that would be it.
That makes sense.
Phil, are you using a pirate stream?
No. I paid
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Phil Baker is like, his phone is like Tortuga, and he is Jack Sparrow. He's incredible. Like, he has all the pirate streams. Allegedly.
Hey, look.
Allegedly. Oh, dang.
Allegedly.
Nick, turn it to the fans over here. You let everybody. Oh, yeah, he's got all the pirate
kicking the
streams.
doors for me, allegedly.
Man, he's got VPNs on his stuff. Everybody else, like, dang.
Maven and I have a group thread. I kid you not. Our text exchange is essentially like him sending me like secret finds from the Burlington Code Factory in illegal, allegedly stream when we're trying to get on there for Red Zone when he can't pick up a Lions game in the regular season. That's our communication. It's great.
Yeah, Reddit has saved a lot of guys from not being able to see their favorite team. Allegedly, I've heard Reddit is allegedly.
Yep.
Okay,
I still am stuck on your question. Like, I'm still stuck on that because I just can't. I
can't
know
fathom it either. I'm just I'm playing devil's advocate because I know I would say 98% of our shows are essentially like speaking in absolutes as if it's not going to, and I'm just
the only place
you
can
have that discussion if it's not if we're in agreement that's there, but without I don't know if things are kind of getting regurgitated like the Kenny Payne's, like he's surely going to be the higher, and then it just kind of picked up momentum. And it was like, okay, I could be convinced in that. And if that's happening here where we're just speaking in absolutes, or does Josh Hurd view it through the prism? And to his credit, with Eric Crawford, he said he's not into moral victory. So, show me in the next couple of weeks what that, or I guess in the 12 games you got left, what that's going to look like. But just a discussion to be had and something to keep in the back of the mind. If there is some momentum with the injury bugs that the team has, like how does the athletic department view that?
To me, it's damn near impossible to make any kind of change unless the only thing that he could use as an excuse in this moment would be to just call it financial. Just say they couldn't afford it. Like say that they couldn't afford to make a change. That would be it.
Oh no. Well, I'm saying you can't afford to not make the change.
No, I agree with you. But
bingo.
Because that's what's gonna eliminate what Phil's talking about. Like Phil is making a good point. Like there are going to be people standing on that side of the fence. The only problem is that you announce there's a year 3, your ticket sales plummet. You know what I mean? Your attendance plummets because there's no momentum going into that, right? Like you can't bank on the scan ticket average of 6,300, which is abysmal for an arena that seats 22,000. Right, like it's just abysmal that your scan ticket sale average or scan ticket, on average is 6,300, which is down from 6,800 when you only had 4 wins last year. So you can't afford to bring any. You had a $2 million shortfall of the basketball budget, and you projected low. Like you didn't project 20 wins. You projected maybe 15. You know what I'm saying? Maybe 17. 15 to 17.
Well, now you're seeing donors too become more vocal too. Like Aaron Flaker is a big U of L baseball guy, so that's ultimately what I think going to help make the decision. And they've kind of sat it out a little bit, I would say, for the most part. Like a lot of people know how Junior Bridgman operates. He's not a vocal individual when it comes to these.
Say nothing.
He operates behind the scenes, and I'm sure like everybody talks about buyouts and stuff with Kenny Payne. Like I think, and just my own personal opinion without knowing, like Junior Bridgman's relationship with him, he's going to pay him everything. Like not just from him, but like everything that he's owed. Everyone talks about the buyout going down, at the end of the I think that point's moot. Like he's going to get paid regardless for that. And he should get paid. Like, I know people are like, well, wait till the $2 million and maybe you can have a middle ground, but if it's not working, it's not working. But guys like Aaron Flaker, you've seen some things from Rick Hebert, whose name's on the practice facility, share some Rick Pitino stuff. It's like that's where I don't want to say it gets toxic, but it's getting very telling of what the money people think about this. And when you got that thing on auto pay and it's nice and people are paying this stuff it's $8,400, $1,500 here, $20,000, $50,000 there, and then you just auto renew some of those things, which I know for a fact has left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth when there wasn't really statements that sent out. And they just renewed them for like another season on their season tickets. Wow. That's ultimately what I think is going to make the bet on this Kenny Payne experiment. But that's been fascinating in recent weeks. Like why it wasn't at the Arkansas State game and it was the Pitt game, or it was after the Virginia game that like they now were becoming vocal. And it's like I would argue, the Arkansas State and Kentucky Wesleyan was much worse than who's into those foes. But yeah, that's what I think is ultimately going to make it their bed with that.
So Jeff, Phil, whoever, can somebody clarify the comments that Josh made to Eric Crawford the other day, where he talked about basically he alluded to, or he just flat out said that he financially, like they planned for the basketball season to be awful. Like, does anybody clarify exactly what he meant and how he said that? Because it sounded like to me, that's an excuse KP or whoever could use. Is like, oh, you didn't invest in me this season. You know what I mean?
No.
Okay. Then clarify that.
Oh, what was put out there, and this is all public record, is that they budgeted to not make a ton of money. That's what it is. So like when you set budgets, right? Like, okay, we're going to spend this and we expect to, bring in this X amount, right? We're going to spend, let's call it 10 million and we expect to bring in 12 million, whatever. Right. But instead, let's say they spent 10 million, and they expected to get 12 million, but they actually only got 8 million. Right. Or they said a $2 million shortfall. So they spent 10 million, they expected to get 12 and they actually only got 10. So let's call it breaking even. Right. Or in their case, they lost money. Right. So typically we would budget, 15, 20 million. Right. Yeah. But instead we only budgeted 10 and we only got 8. And it's like, okay, like that can't happen. Like that just can't happen and the reason why you shortfall is because you have an arena that seats 22,000 and you staff it for 22,000. You have the concessions field, the beer orders, the food orders, all this stuff for 22,000 typically. I'm saying typically.
Right.
Typically. And those workers and all of that stuff, they're on contract. So once the contract is signed, they're there for the whole season. They're not there. You can't just tell them to go home, or if you do, you still got to pay them or whatever, right? Yeah. And so when you do that, and you do all of that for even, and let's say they didn't do it for 22,000. Remember, they undercut themselves. They're like, oh, okay, we're probably not going to be as great, so we're not going to staff it for 22,000. But we got to staff it for like 15. You know what I mean? We got to staff it for 12. Yeah. But you're only getting 6. You know what I'm saying? Like you're only getting 6, and you're only getting 10 paid for with the season tickets, 10,000, but you're only getting 6,000 scanned tickets. So that only means 6,000 worth of people, or 6,300 technically, are buying beers and buying merchandise and buying sodas, chips, nachos, all that stuff. Like, these are all things that are budgeted, and that can't happen. Like, that can't happen. You know what I mean? Like, consecutively, because this isn't the first year, because you only had 6,800 last year. Then you lowered it to 6,300. If you announce a year 3, you're looking at, and in some of those games, you had under 5,000 people there. Under 5,000. It just can't happen at a place like Louisville. Like, that just can't happen. Like, it's fiscally irresponsible for it to allow something like that to happen. And then you have articles like WDRB's article coming out saying that the downtown businesses are used to the 20,000 foot traffic every game on a random, Tuesday night or whatever. And they're not getting anything. Right? They're not getting anything because the only people that are like, there's not the foot traffic. And the only people that are coming down there are just going to the game and then going right home. Because typically after a game, you win, you might go have a beer, might go take some shots with the buddies because your team just win. You might go do a bourbon tasting like a blank, you know what I mean, or whatever, right? Yeah. But you don't get any of that when you're losing. You don't get any of that when you're losing, and that's what's happening.
And it's one of those things too, though. We can't really comment or do a play-by-play, but we have a alleged game going on. We allegedly have a game.
I'm a little.
Oh, sorry, Phil.
Right, no, you're good. I'm looking at the Teen Wolf doppelganger, and there's some interesting individuals in the crowd. I'm seeing a gentleman looking like he's on the Yellowstone Ranch and a Clemson. An orange hat that he may have on there, but no, it's funny. I think Jeff hit the nail on the head with it. It's like fiscally, that's going to be the ultimate thing, makes the bed for this, but I just can't even envision. Wow. Okay. I am far behind you. Wow. Okay. And that's something that I think
we've been in a timeout for a little bit now.
But like, and again, it's still allegedly a 4-point game. Like, get a couple of these wins. You get some of the injury bugs. Like, I'm just fascinated to see what that conversation is there, because the overall record, regardless if you win out here or you lose out, is still terrible. Yeah. If you win out here, which I think we're all in agreement in the chat. Let's say you go, how many other games are 8 out of 10 games? Like, the overall record is still going to be exactly. It's still going to be a terrible overall record. But is that deemed as a sign of growth heading into next season? Which I think we're all in agreement that probably not going to be the case.
You also got to think too, Phil, just that, like, the reason why we can talk him for certain is because, like, even as a fan base, even if you win some of these games, like you said, the overall record will still be bad. And what am I looking forward to?
Yeah.
Like, because I don't know who's going to be on the team next year. There's no signees. There's one commitment, maybe. I think it's a shadow commitment, right? And if you run this team back, that's not going to get anybody excited. I'm not going to say they can't be better, but that's not going to get, like, I'm not going to get excited about seeing a team I just watched go, 6 and whatever, or 8 and whatever, or 10 and 21, or whatever it possibly could be. So it's like nothing spells momentum going into the 24-25 season. And all of that kind of spells for a doomsday come March, right? Like, doomsday for the staff, that is.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I just think that's going to be what ultimately makes it Josh's decision. Kind of, we talked about maybe his hand was forced a little bit in the Kenny Payne hire, maybe his hand being forced as the finances of that mother of God. Okay.
Nick, did Bob ever get that vaccine that he wanted? I know he was really excited. He was trying to get two vaccines on his birthday.
He did not.
Oh,
he wasn't able to get either the RSV or the COVID one.
Is RSV something?
It was a rough day for vaccinations.
Oh yeah, that's a big thing for daycares.
Is RSV? Wait, so it's not just children that get that?
I always thought it was for daycare. When Bob was talking about it, I just thought it was something that was going around at daycares. But apparently, Bob wants to
evidently when you get
meet
to
the
a
guy
certain
at the
age,
trench coat.
Yeah, are you putting him in an elderly daycare? He does the show. You drop him off at the elderly daycare. See you tomorrow, Pops. I'll come get you. Get you around 11.
He would be happy as a clam. He just plays Stratomatic and eat crackers all day. Like he is so ready to be retired.
Yeah,
like, that's right in his wheelhouse, man. Just watch basketball games, play Strat, and then take train rides on occasion.
I still can't believe you and your dad. Sorry, this is totally derailing. I still can't believe your family's never been to Italy. Like, I mean, I get you're fake Italian, but like, your dad loves trains. That's the perfect place to get on a bleeping train. They're great. It's beautiful.
I think he was supposed to go back in the day, but yeah, no, we've never been to the homeland. Some shameful shit. Yeah. Really. And I tracked down some people I think I'm related to over that way. They look just like me. You know, big head, handsome, large nose.
That's just every Italian, dude.
Facial hair.
That's every, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
If you want to say big head, large nose, yeah, there you go.
There's a guy I found, his name was like Giuseppe Valvano or whatever, and he looked like if I was like an Italian, like a real Italian. Like instead of my facial hair all disheveled, he had it like shaved into a neat goatee. Instead of driving like a crappy car like I do, he was driving a Vespa. Like, I mean, he was checking off all the boxes. Like, he was checking off every stereotype.
A Vespa?
And I was like, holy shit, he's an Italian me.
Wait, Vespa's like the little, like on...
No, it was...
on GTA, they call it something I can't say what it's called. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, don't say that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. No, I said Vespa for comedic effect. He actually was driving like a Ducati. Like, he had like a sick motorcycle and everything.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Nice. Actually, yeah, I do remember when I was in Italy, I swore we got served by a guy who looked just like you. It was before I knew you. But I was like, is that Nick man? Like, I'm not even joking. Like, he looked just like you. I'm sorry. The game is or the alleged game is still
allegedly, yeah.
It is
Trey White having a career day in his James Harden's. I'm sorry, those are the Anthony Edwards. I take that back as a shoe nerd. The new, who is just an absolute gem on the internet for clips. If you
love Anthony, I love Ant, man.
Is so
Ant is gold. Oh, he's gold, man. Like, even with his shoes and taking the fines, calling out the refs. like the dude is gold. Even the controversial stuff is just like, dude, what? Like, only Ant Edwards can.
He's different, man. He is different.
Like, what is, bro? And he's got Minnesota's #1 in the West, which is a feat in itself.
Yeah. Since good old Stan Castell and KG and the artist formerly known as Latrell Sprewell. Let's see. I keep going back to that Eric Crawford tweet, man. Like, that's I'm wondering who that could be then. Like, it's just the name you couldn't be considering. Like, that's in there. And I'm looking at the top.
I actually have an idea.
Ooh. Ross McMains.
Newsman Nick. I saw him at the Summer League, by the way.
No, I talked to some people over the weekend, and like a name just got like thrown around. And it was someone that Pops is not a big fan of, but it was Will Wade actually, like, and I was like, really, that one kind of like, and I know I've seen that get bantered around more and more, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's like in the top tier of candidates. The top tiers are the Tangs, the Beards, and then there's like maybe like the tier 2 that would be like I don't know, Drew. Dusty May, maybe.
I would put Drew up with the 1, man.
Yeah, I think Drew would be with the 1. I think.
But no. I mean, but that's the wishful thinking.
Right.
I don't feel like there's been like as much of a. I don't know. It seems like the fan base is really rallying behind Beard right now, and Tang's always been kind of up there.
They're
as
rallying.
Realistic ones. Like,
there's 2 ways they're rallying right now. Either they're rallying or they're rallying with their pitchforks like Ennis and everybody else.
If I were to guess,
I will say though, just from a fan base perspective, it sounds like obviously there's detractors, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and there's some like detractors with megaphones, right? Like that are bigger, whether they have bigger accounts, more well known, whatever. But if you just look at the numbers, like just at least from my perspective, I can only speak from the trend is like more people are accepting of Chris Beard, right? And I think the biggest reason for that, as opposed to like the Tang gang is kind of slowed down a little bit, is because the dude's winning, right? Like they understand what comes with it, and they're like, "Yo, if I could be 18-3 right now, I'll deal with whatever I have to deal with." Right, like if I could be 18-3 at Louisville was top 10 in the country. You're probably sitting at number 5, number 4, maybe maybe number 1 in the country. I don't know. Like, but if you have only 3 losses up until this point, you're pretty high, right? And you'd imagine being that good. Let's call it 18-3, 19-3, whatever. You'd imagine there's some pretty good recruits signed too by this point in the season. Like you're just imagining, like what does that look like here? And that's why I think the shift is being made. Now, ultimately, to me, what will determine if you get even more people on board is what he's able to do in March, right? Because things can shift for everyone in March, right? You go on a Sweet 16 run, an Elite 8 run, whether it's a guy we're talking about right now or a guy that we have no clue exists up until this point. Someone is going to go on a magical Elite 8 run or a magical Final Four run. And it's going to be like,
Double D says it all the time. He says dudes get paid all the time off of the March Madness. By the way, Justin, I hope you're sitting down. It was his back was to me. Save that for the mixtape. It looked like Kenny Payne was smirking.
I saw it. I saw the smile. I saw a little joy on his face as they allegedly.
We got a spot for you in Greenville if you want to be an assistant. Look, I'm with you. I think that's something that is definitely going to be on people's radar, as Jeff said. By the way, I misspoke earlier. I said Greg Gard was like at 12. They're up at 6 right now. Wisconsin.
Holy cow!
They're number 6 in the country.
That high.
Yeah, I knew they were top 10. That's why when we said 12, I was like, oh, okay.
Well, it was funny because that was last week, and after then they shot up. But then also another name that's kind of out there that hasn't really, it's been talked about after beating Kansas, but the TJ Olsenberger guy from Iowa State, he's number 12 right now. So there's some names that could be up there. But look at us having a coaching carousel show and breaking down everything else as Louisville falls to Clemson.
Real quick, one of the things, just to go off of what Jeff was kind of saying, though, it is interesting, though, because you look at it right now, you want a guy like in Beard's situation, who is, 18, 19, and 3, whatever it is right now, that does give a lot more momentum than if you look at right now. Again, and I like the guy, especially last year, but like Jerome Tang, now he's 14-7. And how much of that starts to wear off the shine, and especially if it is a $28 million or whatever that we were told, there was some ridiculous buyout, right? Because he signed on that contract extension, or is that not accurate? I don't know.
That's not Tang. That's Mick Cronin.
No, it's Mick Cronin.
Well, I know that Cronin had, but didn't. Yeah. What's Tang's then? Because he had just signed 2 last year, didn't he?
I don't think Tang's is crazy. Just from what I was, because I did a little bit
kind
of
what
this,
I I don't think it's as wild as Mick Cronin.
Okay,
Mick Cronin has essentially the wildest one. His is about 16 million. It's just ridiculous. I think some of the other guys I had looked up, like Nate Oates, is pretty large too. Like his is pretty high. Yeah. But the guys like Tangs wasn't bad. Tommy Lloyd's up in Arizona wasn't bad. Dusty May obviously wasn't bad. So those were the guys like that gets Chris Beard. His isn't known, isn't made public, but you don't imagine it being too bad, right? Simply because this is kind of like a second chance type of thing. So I don't imagine his is too crazy. And so like that's why a lot of those made sense. And because those guys have had success too. And whereas like you said, but anybody can make up, we're talking about names, like I said, the Will Wades of the world, and Will Wade, one thing that like the thing that he got in trouble for, it's like legal now, man. Like that's the thing. Like a lot of the things that some of these guys got in trouble for at some of these previous jobs that may have cost them their job. A lot of that stuff is legal now. Like Will
Make
Wade's
that strong ass offer. Do it now.
Yeah, like Will Wade's essentially was doing NIL before it was NIL, right? Like that's essentially what it was. And then he was caught on an audio tape. Basically, I think he called somebody a pussy or something, right? Like he said something like, "Oh yeah," and that rubbed people the wrong way. And it's like, people around here might like that. You know what I'm saying? Like they might like that. Like if you hear your coach calling, and so it's like, okay, and if you back that up, and I think he's having a really good season. He may be like 18-4 or something right now at McNeese State.
Yeah, lower level. McNeese State is.
Yeah, like McNeese State is. I think they're having a really good year, but at the end of the day, I think we're going to watch very closely of what these guys are able to do in March, and that for a lot of people is going to determine even more so their pecking order, unless they're locked in on a guy like Scott Drew, and I just don't think a Scott Drew is attainable. 20 years at Baylor, national championship, new arena. I don't think he's attainable. It just kind of got thrown out there because Jeff Goodman said throw him 10 million and tell him to, make him tell you no. But of the guys that I think that are more attainable, I don't want to go game by game. Just what are you, if you're able to make it to March, what do you do when you get in the dance? How far are you able to advance? And that is what will really determine a lot of guys' pecking order.
Like you said, and I hate, I don't want to do this, and I don't want to look at anybody. And I know Phil may be out. Anyway, I don't want to do this as a everything under a microscope of somebody's career. But the way I look at it, like right now, if we're going to go off of what's going to instill the fan base with the most excitement right now, it's difficult to look at the three guys, say, just going off Trilly Donovan's tweet. And that's not how we really need to operate. But if you go just by off those three guys that we have left, one's 10-10, one is 14-7, and one is 18-3. So it's just kind of it's difficult when you want to have some kind of jolt of excitement for me. And that's where I'll leave my comments for that, because we'll have a long time to talk about all this. Anybody else have any final thoughts before we get out of here? I know Phil's ready to go. I know everybody's ready.
No, I literally was about to piss myself if I didn't get up over. So I was like, no need for you all to see that on that. So I was like, I'll
Did you pull out a bottle? Did you do what I do?
No, I didn't do that. I did not do that. I went the entire game without getting up in halftime, which is great for all males alive who not to break the seal. Out there. But no, I think it was an interesting discussion as we inch closer and closer to get toward the coaching carousel. And like Jeff said, I mean, guys are going to make some money. Double D says it all the time. We're going to make a ton of money come, whoever gets to the first or second weekend of the tournament. And that's how you parlay it into making a name for yourself and climbing up there. And it could be somebody that none of us are talking about, as Eric Crawford pointed out.
Yep. I guess
hopefully we'll talk to him tomorrow on the B show.
Yeah, there you go. Make sure you tune in for that. Everybody, wait. Do me a favor. Just need to get you guys under the rhythm of this. I'm sorry. Doing a little bit behind the scenes, whatever, right in front of it, or whatever it's called. Do not leave this until I close it out, please. Just so it looks better. So just let me at least end the stream before everybody just fucking leaves and we have these empty blocks. I'm just asking that, just because every time I'm like, what? Everybody does it, and I'm like, just wait. So Phil, would you like to close it out? Make sure you tell everybody, hit that fucking like button, smash the subscribe button, all that stuff.
Jeff, I appreciate you joining. Bashi, I'll see you tomorrow. Nick and I, it sounds like we'll be in on the V show tomorrow, possibly Eric Crawford joining. So I'm excited to sit in captain's chair with Nikki V steering the ship on that. Justin Soforo put it on. Reminder, Ethan Moore has you covered for the Louisville post-game show, Coors Light post-game show on 93.9 The Ville after Bobby V and Paul Rogers talk with Kenny Payne. I'm sure that'll be riveting stuff right there, as those guys deserve hazard pay for the questions and the creative. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. The creativity and the questions that these guys come up with, it's bravo, because we have the same shows over and over again, and these guys find ways to get as creative as possible. So seriously, Bob and Paul do a wonderful job on that. I encourage you all to go listen to that on 93.9 The Ville and the ESPN Louisville app. For Justin, Nick, Andrew, and Jeff, I'm Phil Baker. We will talk to you next time. I'm going to try to do this on a weekly thing. Thank you for watching the college basketball, not a red team and a orange team sidecast, but just college basketball in general. Appreciate you making us a part of your night, and hit that effing like button. We'll talk to you next time.